Chapter 868, The Incoming Storm, There's No Hurry. The Octaterra map fragment is directly connected to the legacy of a Saint Emperor. It will definitely cause many large organizations to become green with greed. All these Saint Kings are within my expectations. Right now, what we need to do is wait and watch, before finding an opportunity to take it while the others fight. Since the mysterious woman told us to fight over the map fragment, we need to try our best, Jian Chen replied with a mental message. He remained unperturbed. Jian Chen, we don't even know who that woman is. Are we supposed to just trust her like this? What if she's scheming something by telling us to obtain the map fragment? Nubis was rather worried. Jian Chen thought in silence for a while before he replied with another message. I may not know who that woman is, but she's extremely powerful. That is an undoubtable fact. She also knows everything about my situation on the Tianyuan continent, including my matters with the 10 protector clans and my enmity with the beast god continent. If she wants to harm us, all she needs to do is make our identities public, but she has not done that. Moreover, from the conversation I had with her before, I learned that she isn't helping us for nothing this time. Fair enough. That woman did say that she would help you now and you would need to help her in the future. She probably won't harm us. Nubis nodded in agreement as he found it rather reasonable too. The two of them communicated with private messages, so their voices did not leak out at all. As a result, the patriarch of the Dare tribe beside them had no idea that they were conversing. 85 million grand quality crystal coins, 86 million grand quality crystal coins, the prices called out in the hall did not stop, the intense battle for the map fragment continued. There were over 10 large organizations participating in this fight for the map fragment. This lasted for roughly 15 minutes. The price of the map fragment had already reached 100 million crystal coins. The price was so great that even some large organizations were unable to continue and they all backed out one by one. However, there were still many wealthy groups unwilling to let go of the map fragment, so the price continued to increase over time. The battle for the map fragment only concluded after 4 whole hours. It was purchased by a peak-level clan from the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall for a great price of 380 million. With the sale of the map fragment, the Jas auction also officially reached its conclusion. Afterward, Jian Chen and Nubis went to the backstage of the auction to deal with the procedures for the Divine Water of the World. The Divine Water of the World was a name used by people of the Sea race. Its true name was Holy Water of the Spirit Sea. Jian Chen accepted the bottle of holy water excitedly, carefully placing it into his space ring before leaving with Nubis and the Patriarch. As soon as he left the area where the items were distributed, a malicious-looking young man in tight, blue robes blocked Jian Chen's path. His eyes were cold, the depths of his eyes concealing a stern killing intent. Xia Wang. The Patriarch's expression immediately changed when he saw the young man and he cried out uncontrollably. Jian Chen and Nubis studied the young man who seemed to be about the same age as Jian Chen with interest. Jian Chen said with a slight smile, "You must be Xia Wang. Cut the bullshit. Give me the divine water of the world and I'll leave your lives intact." Xia Wang stared at Jian Chen coldly while his voice was extremely icy. It contained no emotions whatsoever. Xia Wang was the same as Nubis, both 9th heavenly layer saint rulers. With Nubis' prideful nature, how could he endure someone who was only as powerful as him act so arrogantly? He immediately became enraged and took a step forward. A powerful presence began to radiate from his body and tightly pressured Xia Wang. He replied coldly, "What dogs hit Xia Wang? You still don't have the right to be arrogant before me. Piss off or it won't be my fault for being impolite." Nubis had an extremely great control over his presence. The vast presence of a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler only locked onto Xia Wang. It did not pervade into the surroundings and affect the other people at the auction. Under the suppression of Nubis' pressure, a gleam of light flashed over Xia Wang's eyes. He glared at Nubis and finally revealed a sliver of seriousness. Although they had not physically fought it out, he could feel Nubis's strength. Nubis was definitely an expert, not any weaker than himself. "Who are you?" Xiaofan growled. At that very moment, he seemed to ignore Jian Chen and the patriarch of the Dare tribe completely. He only had his eyes on Nubis. "I am the great Nubis. Didn't you hear me speak before?" Nubis growled back. Vicious light shone in his eyes. The wildness and bloodlust from his bloodline as a magical beast had been involuntarily agitated. "Guests, do not fight within the auction center. If there is any enmity, go resolve it outside the city." An old voice rang out suddenly at this very moment. An extremely ordinary-looking old man strode over from afar. With a slight wave of his hand, an invisible energy immediately surged over and only suppressed Nubis's presence. A sliver of interest flashed across Jian Chen's eyes. This old man had suppressed Nubis's presence so simply. He was definitely a supreme saint king and one that was at least of the fifth heavenly layer. He was no weaker than Bai Yifei and Ling Yuanzi. The sea race really is a place that has great people hiding. I never thought that there would be such an expert hidden in this puny auction. The sea race really is powerful. Not only do they have more saint emperors than the Tian Yuan continent, they have many more saint emperors and saint rulers too, thought Jian Chen. His understandings of the sea race's strength was renewed once again. Nubis also sensed the old man's strength. A deep fear that rarely appeared covered his face and he immediately retracted his presence. He did not do anything overboard. Even though Xiaofan feared nothing, his complexion finally changed too when he saw the old man. His gaze toward the old man was mixed with both shock and fear. He clasped his hands toward the old man courteously and said, "I greet old Senior Jad." The old man looked at the three of them normally and a warm smile appeared on his face. "No matter who it is, since you've come to my Jas auction, you are a guest of my auction center. Guests, I don't care about the matters between the two of you nor do I want to care, but please do not break the rules of Jas City. If you want to resolve your problems, please go fight outside the city. Do not break the rules of the city." "Yes, old Senior Jad. Junior will never break the rules of Jas City on purpose." Xiaofan immediately became like an obedient child. He feared and admired the old man. The old man said to Xiaofan, "You destroyed a table of my auction center. Go pay the fees." "Yes." Xiaofan did not dare to resist at all. He stared at both Nubis and Jian Chen then growled, "I will be looking for you too in the future." With that, Xiaofan immediately left to go pay the compensation fees for the auction center. The old man paid no attention to Jian Chen's group. He directly walked away from three of them, disappearing around a corner very quickly. Jas City, Jas Auction, old Senior Jad. Is there some connection between the three of them? Was that old man perhaps the expert who protects the Jas Auction? Jian Chen thought as he watched the old man disappear into the distance. In a sealed secret room in the auction center, old Senior Jad was currently in discussion with a few other old men. "Jad, the journey where we deliver the Octaterra map fragment will definitely be extremely dangerous. Many experts will come and fight for it. We hope you're able to assist us," said an old man. Old Senior Jad thought in silence for a while before nodding sternly. 3,000 years ago, a great elder of your Hao family saved my life. I've never been able to return that favor and the great elder has already passed away from old age. I won't be able to see him ever again in this life, so I will be helping you since your Hao family needs help. It'll be returning the great elder's favor of saving my life." Fantastic. With old Senior Jad assisting us, our chance of returning with the map fragment successfully has increased by quite a bit. The old men from the Hao family were overjoyed and became excited. Chapter 869, meeting Kaya again. Jian Chen and Nubis left the Jas auction and directly traveled toward the exit of the city. Along the way, Jian Chen discovered many experts hidden in the surroundings of the streets. Some of them had come to participate in the auction this time, while others had come with different objectives and were waiting patiently. At this very moment, a tremendous presence appeared far away. There were over 10 people of various ages flying out of the auction center, directly traveling out of the city. That's the renowned Hao family from the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Even among the entire Sea realm, the Hao family's strength is highly ranked. They're people from the Hao family. I heard it was the Hao family who bought the Octaterra map fragment for a huge price. So many experts from the Hao family have come. They must be leaving with the map fragment. Isn't that the city lord, Jad? Why is he with the people of the Hao family? Not only is Jad the city lord, he's also the boss behind the scenes of the Jas auction and the previous patriarch of the #1 clan in the city, the Jas clan. Since he is with the Hao family, is he perhaps assisting the Hao family in leaving with the map fragment? Jad's strength is already at the 16th star. I don't think there'll be many people who will want to try to get their hands on the map fragment with him accompanying them. That might not be the case. I've heard that many experts from all 3 territories have gathered here. There are plenty of other 16th star Sea Soul warriors among them. A series of discussions rang out from the streets. A few experts conversed with one another as they all watched the group fly over them. Jad was a renowned expert in this region. His appearance had caused many to dismiss their ill intentions. The group from the Hao family flew extremely quickly with Jad. They zoomed through the sky like a comet and disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. They left the city very quickly. As the sea realm was enveloped by a powerful barrier, it was like a separate world. Saint Kings would not be able to rip open space here, so the group from the Hao family could only deliver the map fragment back to the clan by flying. Not too long after they left, figures flickered within the city. Many experts who hid in the surroundings all began to tail the group. Almost all of them were saint rulers and there were even some saint kings. Jian Chen watched the figures travel off into the distance as he stood where he was. His eyes constantly flickered with a light. Warriors, we've already obtained what you needed now. Do you think, the patriarch of the Dare tribe said on one side with hesitance. He seemed slightly worried. He had pooled the entire tribe's wealth onto Jian Chen. He really was worried that the two of them would go back on their words. After glancing at him unconsciously, the corner of Jian Chen's lips curled into a sliver of slight disdain. Patriarch, let's leave the city first. Jian Chen, about the map fragment, Nubi sent a mental message. No hurry. Let them fight a little first. Don't worry, all their actions are within my scope of expectations, Jian Chen replied with a mental message. His voice was filled with great confidence. He had already expanded his presence to the limits long ago, enveloping a radius of 5,000 kilometers. He could sense the actions of the people extremely clearly. I don't need to worry since you've said that then, Nubis replied. The three of them left Jas City together and directly flew into the distance. Just when they traveled 100 kilometers from the city, a vast presence suddenly appeared. Behind the three of them, the blue-robed Xia Wang chased up to them with a frosty expression. He had fused with the surrounding space, hurrying over through the use of spatial force. He was as fast as lightning. It's Xia Wang. He's actually caught up, the patriarch's expression changed slightly. He glanced over to Jian Chen and Nubis. He saw that they remained unperturbed so he could not help but relax slightly. Jian Chen and Nubis stopped in their tracks then floated mid-air and remaining composed as they waited for Xia Wang to fly over. A few seconds later, Xia Wang stopped 50 meters away from the three of them. He glared at Nubis, while the flames of anger and killing intent burned in his eyes. Nubis stared at Xia Wang with his arms crossed and a face of arrogance. He sneered, "What, you want to fight with me, the great Nubis? Give the divine water of the world to me and I'll leave immediately. I won't be letting this matter drop otherwise, Xiaofan said expressionlessly. The divine water was his only hope, he was even willing to die for it because he did not have much time left. Nubi's face was cold. Before me, the great Nubis, you still don't have the right to speak like that. Unless you're a 15th star sea soul warrior, why don't you let me knock out all your teeth before you want to keep dwelling on this? With that, Nubis appeared before Xiaofan with a flash. He directly hurled a whistling fist towards Xiaofan and the surrounding space trembled violently as his punch passed by. The space in the sea realm was much tougher than elsewhere. Nubi's punch could rip through space easily outside, but it could only cause the space to tremor here. Although Xiaofan was self-confident, he knew that Nubis was in no way weaker than himself. As a result, he did not dare to fall behind and immediately struck out with a fist that collided violently mid-air with Nubi's punch. Bang! A great force erupted with a muffled sound, wreaking havoc in all directions. The energy ripples from the collision of their fists reached the ground and great big cracks were immediately formed. After the strike, Nubis remained floating mid-air with his balance. He was immovable like a mountain. On the other hand, Xiaofan was forced back 10 meters uncontrollably before he regained stability. The outcome of who was stronger or weaker had already been determined. As a beast of antiquity, Nubi's capability for battle was already extremely powerful. Combined with his absorption of the hidden essence from a Class 8 magical beast, it only made him even greater. Currently, his strength was not any weaker than a Saint King. Even if he encountered a first heavenly layer Saint King, it was not necessarily impossible for him to come out victorious. He was matchless among 9th heavenly layer Saint rulers. Xiaofan shook his right arm, which had become slightly numb from the collision. He growled, "You may be very powerful, but you're still at the peak of the 14th star, the same as me. If we don't fight to the very end, it's still very hard to determine who'll live or die. I'll show you my true strength." An even greater presence emanated from Xiaofan as he rushed at Nubis boldly, embroiling in a great battle with him. In the direction of Jia City, another 3 people flew over, before stopping several kilometers away to watch on from afar. The 3 of them were the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe and the 2 protector elders. They did not interfere with Jian Chen and Nubis' dispute with Xiaofan. When they saw how Nubis was locked in battle with Xiaofan, their expressions became extremely ugly. Never did they think that Nubis would be so powerful that he could battle evenly with the infamous Xiaofan and even slightly gain the upper hand. Jian Chen glanced at the 3 Menghuang tribe experts in the distance but did not pay them too much attention. The 3 of them were all saint rulers of the 3rd and 4th heavenly layer and were not people he needed to acknowledge. However, the patriarch of the Dare tribe was unable to remain as composed as Jian Chen. He stared at the 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe cautiously and said, "Esteemed warrior, be careful of a sudden ambush from the 3 of them. Don't worry, there is me to handle everything. They won't be able to cause any trouble." Jian Chen was confident. The 3 experts stared fixedly at the battle between the 2 while the lights in their eyes flickered. One of the protector elders sent a mental message, "Patriarch, Xiaofang's already become enemies with the experts recruited by the Dare tribe. If we take advantage of it right now and assist Xiaofan, we might be able to pull him to our side temporarily and get him to deal with the Dare tribe with us. That's reasonable. Patriarch, why don't we help Xiaofan right now? Xiaofan wants the divine water while we want the spirit vein in the Dare tribe's possession. I'm sure that Xiaofan will be extremely willing to work with us," added the other protector elder. The patriarch of the Menghuang tribe hesitated slightly before shaking his head gently. "Let's wait first. Right now, we're not sure of the other person's strength. We may not necessarily be his opponent even if we work together, and the patriarch of the Dare tribe is another 13th star expert. I don't see any benefits if we clash with them right now so hastily. Suddenly, another dozen or so people flew over from the direction of Jia City. They were in a horrible shape, their faces were pale while residue blood remained at the corner of their lips. They were heavily wounded. Behind them, two old men fought as one retreated. They were both saint rulers and powerful energy ripples would erupt whenever they clashed. "Elder, leave quickly. Don't mind us." A blue-robed, slightly attractive woman yelled from the group. She pleaded with a miserable voice. When Jian Chen heard the woman's voice, his eyes froze immediately. He suddenly turned to the woman who had spoken and a sliver of shock appeared in his eyes. "Kaya. I'll block him. Leave quickly." The old man with short, blue hair yelled out as he fought while retreating. He was much weaker than his opponent, with just a while of battle, he was already heavily injured. "Ha ha ha, don't think any of you people from the Kaler tribe will escape today. 100 years ago, that old bastard from the Kaler tribe almost made me die. Let me take my revenge from all those years ago on the blood and flesh of that old bastard." The black-robed old man laughed aloud from behind. His face was cruel as he struck the chest of the elder from the Kaler tribe with a palm full of great energy. Spurt. The elder vomited a mouthful of blood and immediately became sheet white. His face was drained of blood and he was no longer able to maintain his flight, directly falling downward. "Ha ha ha, I'll finish off that old one and then come and kill you little ones." The black-robed old man shot toward the falling elder with killing intent and mercilessly struck toward the elder's head with a palm that radiated with energy ripples. Swish! Suddenly, an ear-piercing whistling of air was emitted. A terrifying, meter-long sword chi that emanated with the presence of destruction directly shot toward the black-robed old man with lightning speed. Chapter 870, Repaying a Debt of Gratitude. When he sensed the strength of the sword chi flying over, the black-robed old man was immediately shocked. He instinctively knew very well that he would be heavily injured if he was struck by it. The old man no longer bothered to kill the elder from the Kaler tribe. His palm for the elder was forcefully withdrawn and struck toward the sword chi in a full-powered punch. The old man sent out a meter-wide fist completely condensed from energy, striking the sword chi with violent ripples of power. Boom! As the two collided, a great rumble erupted immediately. Violent energy ripples wreaked havoc in the surroundings and sent Kaya and the guards flying. However, the sword chi completely exceeded the old man's imagination. It had not been dispersed and instead shot through the violent energies directly. However, it was now much weaker due to the strike before. The old man was also a 14th star sea soul warrior, equivalent to a saint ruler of the 6th heavenly layer. When he saw how the sword chi continued toward him with no decrease in speed, he immediately became extremely stern. Afterward, he grunted and vast amounts of energy surged out, striking the sword chi with all his power once again. With a deafening boom, the old man finally dispersed the sword chi 30 meters away from him. The powerful aftersurges struck his body, causing him to tremble greatly. The old man was shocked. He glared in the direction that the sword chi came from. He wanted to see exactly who possessed such great strength. Even if the person was not at the peak of the 14th star, he was not far from it. All he saw was a young man with long black hair in white robes. He carried a sword that shone with dark light as he floated mid-air. The old man's eyes narrowed abruptly. He even experienced a false impression, as if the young man before him was not a person at all but rather a sword that radiated with soaring sword chi like a sacred sword that stood upright in the world. "Warrior, who are you? What do you want with me? Why did you ambush me suddenly?" The old man growled. His expression was very ugly, while he unconsciously glanced at the intense battle between Xiaofan and Nubis. With just a single glance, he realized that the two of them were much more powerful than him, probably actual experts who were at the peak of the 14th star. Jian Chen glanced at the old man coldly before flying toward Kaya. Miss Kaya, are you fine? Kaya looked at Jian Chen with her sheet-white face. When she recognized him, shock immediately dyed her beautiful eyes. Warrior, it's actually you. Jian Chen's face carried a smile. Miss Kaya, looks like you've encountered some problems, but fortunately you came across me. Otherwise, you probably would have been in danger. At this moment, the 12 guards that followed Kaya recognized Jian Chen as well. They immediately became shocked and they connected Jian Chen with the fact that he had repelled the powerful old man all by himself. Never did they think that the beggar-like person who did not even have money for the entree fee of the city was actually such a terrifying expert. It caused the 12 guards to become extremely astounded. I thank the warrior for his assistance. Kaya will definitely return the favor of saving my life, Kaya said with gratitude. Her voice was slightly weak as she was quite heavily injured. The injuries were not from the black-robed old man but from the energy ripples when the two saint rulers clashed before. Miss Kaya is too modest. Half a month ago, I became indebted to Miss Kaya's kindness. Just treat it as returning the favor, Jian Chen said with a slight smile. Seeing how Jian Chen was actually with the people from the Kaler tribe and that their relationship seemed to be something else, the old man in the distance immediately became heavy-hearted. He knew that if the Kaler tribe had such an expert helping out, he definitely would not be able to take revenge for the years before. On the other hand, the injured elder from the Kaler tribe was overjoyed. He forcefully endured his injuries and struggled up to his feet, calling out loudly, "Warrior, please help us, the Kaler tribe, to kill this person. We, the Kaler tribe, will be eternally grateful." With that, the black-robed old man could no longer be bothered with his revenge. Thoughts of retreat had already appeared in his mind, but he continued to ask, "May I inquire what Sir's relationship with the Kaler tribe is?" Jian Chen ignored him and said to Kaya, "Miss Kaya, since he's an enemy of yours, allow me to thank you for your kindness by offering up his head." With that, Jian Chen raised the dragon-slaying sword and charged at the old man. His eyes contained a powerful, unconcealed killing intent. The old man's expression changed greatly. Just as he was about to retreat, another 3 vast presences appeared suddenly. The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe moved together and moved directly toward Jian Chen. "Warrior, it'll be difficult for you to escape today. Why not work with the 3 of us to exterminate this person?" called out the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe. A gleam of light flashed across the old man's eyes. His intent to escape disappeared immediately and a vicious smile appeared on his face once again. "Sure. Since you don't intend on letting me go, I can only work with these 3 fellows to deal with you. You dare to ruin my matters, Hey Batian, will let you fall here today. Be careful, warrior." When she saw the 3 other people rush up to be Jian Chen's opponents, Kaya's expression immediately changed. She called out uncontrollably and she also began to worry for Jian Chen. Although they had not known each other for very long, Jian Chen was still a person who stood on her side. Whether her group and the elder could leave here alive would all depend on him. A sliver of disdain appeared on Jian Chen's face and he mocked, "Let's see exactly who falls here today. People of the Menghuang tribe, I originally wanted you to live a few more days, but since you seek death, it won't be my fault." Such impudence. The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe became enraged and they all pulled out their weapons. They became involved in a great fight with Jian Chen. Even a grain of rice dares to try and outshine the moon. The dragon-slaying sword in Jian Chen's hand turned into a blur and was thrust out with lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, Jian Chen had struck out thrice, knocking away the weapons from the 3 Menghuang tribe experts. The great force from the collision of their weapons caused the 3 experts to experience a series of numbness in their hands. The 3 of them were greatly shocked. They knew that Jian Chen would definitely be extremely powerful, but according to what their beliefs, they even possessed the power to fight with a 14th star Sea Soul warrior if they worked together. They had never thought that Jian Chen would be so powerful that in just a single clash, all three of them would lose the upper hand. The powerful energy from the dragon-slaying sword affected them in particular, making them experience an inability to resist from the very depths of their hearts. Swish swish swish. At this very moment, the sword flashed another 3 times abruptly. The dragon-slaying sword continued to pierce at the 3 people, directly punching through their chests. They did not have any time to react at all. The second layer of the chaotic body was equivalent to the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Combined with a ruler armament, Jian Chen's strength in battle was equivalent to the 9th heavenly layer. The 3 people were all below the 5th heavenly layer, so they had no power to resist Jian Chen with such a great disparity. The 3 people from the Menghuang tribe all produced muffled grunts, quickly retreating backward. They were astounded, no longer willing to continue their fight with Jian Chen. They fled toward the distance at the same time and disappeared far away quickly. Originally, I wanted to kill the 3 of you directly, but I changed my mind for now. Leave. I'll let you live for a few days longer. Jian Chen did not obstruct their departure. He had allowed the people from the Menghuang tribe to understand his strength, so he believed that they would not attack the Dare tribe very soon. It just happened to earn him some precious time to steal the Octaterra map fragment. When he saw how Jian Chen demolished the 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe as soon as they clashed, the black-robed old man immediately became scared witless. He hurriedly came to a screeching halt mid-air, no longer possessing the courage to battle. He immediately turned around and flew off into the distance to escape. You should stay behind. I've let them go but not you, Jian Chen said ordinarily. His voice was heard clearly by the black-robed old man, which caused him to shiver inside. He fled at an even greater speed. Jian Chen did not give the old man the chance to use spatial force in order to escape. Using the illusionary flash, he appeared before the old man like a ghost. With a shake of his arm, the dragon-slaying sword in his hand turned into a flurry of blurs that enveloped the old man. The blurs stacked on top of one another, blotting out the sky and locking the old man in place. Arg! A chilling cry emerged from the flurry of blurs. As the blur receded, the old man had undergone an absolute change of appearance in just a few seconds. He was covered in blood, while countless wounds were strewn all over his body. He was extremely miserable. Warrior, spare me, warrior. I will never provoke people of the Kaler tribe again. Please spare my old life. The old man had truly comprehended Jian Chen's terror. He did not believe he could escape today, so he immediately began to beg. Jian Chen's eyes were cold, unaffected by the old man's actions. All the killings from the years had gradually forged him a merciless heart toward enemies, because only like that could one survive in this world. Kindness toward enemies would be equivalent to taking one's own life. The killing intent in Jian Chen's eyes flashed. As the dragon-slaying sword swung down, it directly beheaded the old man. The old man did not die. Under the control of his origin soul, the entire head began to flee into the distance, wanting to escape. However, he was still not faster than Jian Chen in the end. With just a flash, Jian Chen traversed hundreds of meters in an instant and directly blocked the path of the severed head. A gentle palm landed on the head, jolting the origin soul hidden inside into pieces. He directly wiped out the old man's soul. Chapter 871, Battle for the Map Fragment. 1. Jian Chen removed the ring on the black-robed old man's finger, before bringing his head to Kaya. He said with a slight smile, Miss Kaya, I've already beheaded this guy for you. Just treat it as returning your kindness of the 100 crystal coins. Kaya and the 12 guards stared at Jian Chen in stupefaction, while great waves of emotions churned within their hearts. They felt extremely uncalm. A powerful, 14th star Sea Soul warrior had just been slaughtered like that by Jian Chen and was even beheaded. They found this unbelievable and did not even return to their senses after a long time. They really refused to accept what had happened before them. Is that expert really that person who didn't even have money for the fees to enter the city? At this moment, similar thoughts simultaneously appeared in Kaya and the 12 guards' minds. None of them dared to connect Jian Chen, who had easily killed a 14th-star Sea Soul warrior, to that person from before. Staring at the beheaded corpse, the elder from the Kaler tribe was also extremely shocked. The black-robed old man was a 14th-star Sea Soul warrior. Although he did not reach the peak, he was still extremely strong. Meanwhile, Jian Chen had actually killed the old man so easily. This strength caused the elder to be extremely astounded. Peak of the 14th star, that person who just struck out has definitely reached the peak of the 14th star. He might even be a 15th star expert, the elder thought. His heart was soon replaced with ecstasy. If the Kaler tribe could pull such a powerful expert to their side, it would be a humongous matter. The elder wiped away the blood from the corner of his lips and dragged his heavily injured body to Jian Chen. He said gratefully, "I thank this warrior for helping us out. My Kaler tribe will never forget the great kindness you have shown. May I ask if you are able to come to my tribe as a guest so that my Kaler tribe can thank the warrior properly? It's only a small matter, not worth mentioning. Also, Miss Kaya has helped us once before, so it's expected of me to help her this time. Elder, I still have matters to attend to, so I won't be able to visit your tribe." Jian Chen declined after some meandering. He was extremely polite. The elder was awkward. He clearly wanted to invite Jian Chen to their tribe very much as a guest. However, as Jian Chen was so powerful, he did not dare to pester him until he was angry. At that time, he would be in for a loss. "Silly girl, what are you staring blankly for? Why don't you quickly invite this warrior to our tribe as a guest?" The elder immediately sent a mental message to Kaya after a thought popped into his head. Kaya remained hesitant. Her relationship with Jian Chen was extremely ordinary. Additionally, she could clearly feel with her innate spirit-opening technique that Jian Chen only treated her as an extremely ordinary passerby, with no other intentions at all. The reason why he had helped her this time was completely due to the fact that he wanted to return the favor of the 100 crystal coins. "Farewell, Miss Kaya." Jian Chen clasped his hands at Kaya before turning around and leaving. Seeing how Kaya did not follow through with his suggestion, the elder immediately became frantic on the side. He urged once again, "Silly girl, don't just stand around. Why don't you quickly stop the warrior?" The elder's voice was filled with urgency. There was such a great opportunity right in front of him right now to rope in an expert. He did not want to just miss out on it. Kaya shook her head gently and did nothing else. She knew that even if she spoke out to urge him to stay, it would do nothing at all. The elder of the Kaler tribe sighed resentfully as she had failed to do what he had insisted. His face was filled with regret and anger. As Nubis and Xiaofan fought, they moved away. They were now already several dozen kilometers away. Gazing at the two still embroiled in an intense fight, Jian Chen said, "Nubis, don't waste too much time here." "Ha, understood. Kiddo Xiaofan, your great-grandfather Nubis, won't be playing along anymore." Nubis laughed from afar. He immediately used his full strength, heavily striking Xiaofan's body a few times, which caused him to fly backward as he vomited blood. "Kiddo Xiaofan, come find me after you break through to the 15th star. You're not my opponent otherwise." Nubis's extremely arrogant voice shook up the surroundings, broadcasted far and wide. He no longer paid any attention to the heavily injured Xiaofan, turning around and flying toward Jian Chen. "I haven't wasted too much time, have I?" Nubis smiled slightly in front of Jian Chen. He did not feel pressured at all in his fight with Xiaofan. He had not used his full strength at all. As a silver-striped golden snake, Nubis's battle capability was not his most powerful aspect, but his venom was renowned throughout the Tianyuan continent. They've already left my range. We can't delay this any longer, said Jian Chen, before they arrived before the patriarch of the Dare tribe together. They said, Patriarch, let's go. Ah. What? Oh, yes, yes, yes. Stunned, the patriarch suddenly returned to his senses, unconsciously nodding his head. His face was already filled with extreme levels of shock and disbelief. He had truly and properly understood Nubi's and Jian Chen's abilities from this fight. Nubis had fought the infamous Xia Wang all by himself and heavily injured him so easily while remaining uninjured himself. Meanwhile, Jian Chen battled 4 saint rulers on his own and wiped out the soul of a 14th-star Sea Soul warrior in just a few bouts, while the other 3 13th-star Sea Soul warriors fled with heavy injuries. The Dare tribe patriarch's blood boiled when he saw all this. How just was the mere Menghuang tribe worthy of any fear with such experts supporting his tribe? The 3 of them left the area, while Kaiya's group remained where they were, staring into the direction that Jian Chen had disappeared off to. Just who are the 2 of them? And who's the other one? Even the infamous Xia Wang was no match for him. Is he perhaps a 15th-star Sea Soul warrior? Mumbled the elder of the Kaler tribe. The regret in his heart increased even more. If he could rope in those 2 experts, the strength of his tribe would increase vastly. Jian Chen's group stopped after traveling several hundred kilometers. Afterward, he turned to the Patriarch and said, Patriarch, the 2 of us have something important to attend to, so we must leave temporarily. When we deal with it, we will come back to assist you with the Menghuang tribe. Is that fine? The Patriarch pondered in silence in response before replying, the 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe have already sustained heavy injuries, so they probably won't have the power to fight my tribe for the time being. Alright, warriors, then you should go deal with your matter. I will wait for your return. The Patriarch seemed like a brute, but he was not stupid at all. Instead, he had a nimble mind. He could tell with a single glance that the 2 of them wanted to try their luck with the Octaterra map fragment. Bidding farewell to the Patriarch, Jian Chen and Nubis did not show any hesitation at all, immediately shooting off into the distance as a blur with lightning speed. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. At this very moment, several thousand kilometers away, the Hao family directly traveled toward the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall with the Octaterra map fragment and the accompaniment of Jad, a 16th-star Sea Soul warrior. As Saint Kings could not rip open space in the territory of the sea race, they could only travel by flight. At this very moment, a weird call appeared in the surroundings. Kakakakak, you better leave this last map fragment behind. I, Yunfeng, will be taking it. With this voice, a burly, middle-aged man appeared out of nowhere, right in front of the group's path and blocking them. Simultaneously, the surrounding space froze, becoming something akin to a frozen block of ice in that very instant. It trapped many experts from the Hao family, immobilizing them. Demon Lord Yunfeng. The expressions of many experts of the Hao family changed. Their gazes toward Yunfeng were filled with deep fear and dread. The city lord of Jia City, Jad, stood forward from the group, staring at Yunfeng with a sneer. Yunfeng, you normally only move about in the territory of the Sea God Hall. Why do you come to our territory? Moreover, there's a powerful formation enveloping the exterior of the Octaterra Divine Hall. Once you reach the 15th, you can't enter it. You are a person who walks a solitary path, so what use is for the map fragment? It's not like you can go in any way. As Jad spoke, his body jolted slightly in the frozen space where Yunfeng had appeared, shattered immediately, returning to how it was before. Yunfeng laughed aloud. You're right. I am indeed unable to enter the Octaterra Divine Hall, but someone has put forward a condition that I can't reject. It'll be difficult for me to not interfere even when that's what I want. I never thought that the proud, lonesome demon lord would help others do things. But with just your strength at the peak of the 15th star, you probably aren't my opponent, Jad said. Senior Jad, there's not just me involved in this matter. I believe that there are still many others who covet the map fragment on you other than me, laughed Yunfeng loudly. Afterward, he looked around and said, everyone, stop hiding. Come out. As soon as Yunfeng finished his words, over 100 figures suddenly appeared out of nowhere from the empty surroundings. Every single one of them had reached Saint Ruler, and there were even Saint Kings. The people from the Hao family had known clearly about being followed since long ago. They did not find it surprising when the people appeared, while Jad, who stood at the very front, looked around. Everyone, the Octaterra map fragment was won by the Hao family in the auction by paying a heavy price. If you want to steal it, it won't be my fault for being merciless. Jad, you're the Jas City Lord of the Serpent God Hall. Why are you helping the people from the Hao family of the Heaven Spirit Hall? Asked an old Saint King. It's not up to you to care about why I am doing this. In short, I will be using all my strength to assist the Hao family in protecting the map fragment. If there is someone who dares to come and take it, don't blame me for being vicious, Jad said with a gruff voice. His eyes turned into a glare, while a powerful killing intent radiated from him. It caused the surrounding temperature to plummet abruptly, as if the surroundings had turned into an ice cavern in permafrost. Chapter 872, Battle for the Map Fragment, 2. Although Jad was the most powerful person present, there were many Saint Kings similar to him in the surroundings, so he was unable to deter the people who wanted to take the map fragment at all. Jad, did you really think that just you and the people from the Hao family would be enough to stop the attacks from all of us? Said the Demon Lord Yunfeng. Everyone, you all probably belong to different organizations. There's only one fragment, so who would the fragment end up with between so many of you? How will you split it? Asked an old man from the Hao family. He bore a smile and spoke with a normal tone. He was one of the ancestors of the Hao family. He was also a Saint King, but at the 15th star. His simple question caused many of the people present to frown. This clearly was a question that was extremely difficult to deal with. None of them wished to work so hard and risk their lives to only have the fragment end up with someone else. Seeing how everyone began to falter, a Saint King immediately called out, "He's trying to get us to turn on each other. It's self-evident. Everyone, do not fall for his tricks. We can discuss how to split it after we obtain the map fragment. Maybe we can directly turn the map fragment into multiple pieces and give everyone a piece. Alright. That's not a bad idea. Let's do that." Immediately, many people agreed to this solution, voicing their agreements. Yunfeng licked his lips and chuckled. Since it's all been dealt with, we have no need to waste any more time. Everyone, let's strike together and obtain the map fragment. The Demon Lord was the most powerful after Jad here. When he finished speaking, he charged at Jad first and called out, "Fellows of the 15th star, come with me to deal with Jad, that old croon. We'll leave the people of the Hao family to others." Immediately, several Saint Kings shot out from the group, embroiling in a great fight with Jad as they worked together with Yunfeng. As soon as they clashed, violent energy ripples erupted and surged through the entire region. It caused mountains to collapse, the ground to crack, and the entire world to tremble violently. The Hao family also had a Saint King. Leading over 20 experts from the clan, he began to fight with 100-odd people, but he was kept busy by the last Saint King who entered the battle from the assailants. It caused the people from the Hao family to become surrounded while forced up against the attacks of over 100 experts of a similar level. Under such a difference in strength, they fell into a disadvantageous position as soon as they clashed, surrounded and attacked by people that outnumbered them several times. However, the people who had come for the map fragment belonged to different organizations. They did not trust each other, so they had to guard against anyone besides them as they attacked the Hao family group in order to prevent anyone from suddenly ambushing them. It resulted in a great reduction of their strength and they were unable to fully display their might. So although the Hao family was tightly suppressed, no one dared to use an attack too powerful that would make them vulnerable. On the other side, the battle between Jad and the Saint Kings had already reached a white-hot intensity. Jad did not fear much, using all his strength without holding back at all. He engaged intensely with the 5 other opponents. The battle was earth-shaking, fighting up in the sky before sinking back to the ground again, all while moving backward. They had already moved 100 kilometers away. Wherever the battle passed by, violent energy ripples would wreak havoc. The surrounding region had basically become a zone of death, where even saint rulers would not dare to venture too deeply into. Although the 5 saint kings fighting Jad were only in the 3rd or 4th heavenly layer, they all had their motives, so none of them were willing to use their full strength. They did not want to expend too much energy or suffer any injuries, which would cause them to miss the perfect opportunity to take the map fragment. As a result, even with the 5 of them working together, they could only reach a stalemate against Jad, who was at the 6th heavenly layer, and they were even vaguely on the losing side. Arg! Arg! With a few cries of pain, a few weaker saint rulers of the Hao family vomited blood and fell with heavy injuries. They retreated into the center of the group, which immediately increased the pressure on the other experts of the family. Their resistance became more and more difficult. If it were not for the insecurity of the attackers, the group from the Hao family would have been forced to give in long ago. Currently, Jian Chen and Nubis concealed their presences 1,000 kilometers away. They hid behind the back of a mountain. They were unable to see the battle due to being too far away, but they could clearly sense the violent energy ripples. This place is too far away. You can't see anything at all. I wonder what the situation is like. Jian Chen, let's approach them a little more, suggested Nubis. Jian Chen raised his hand in objection. No need. We can't get too close. We need to be careful. I've always been monitoring the situation up ahead, and I've even vaguely sensed that there are other experts who have still yet to reveal themselves. We can't get too close. I sense so many presences of Saint Kings, and one of them isn't any weaker than the Bai Fei and Ling Yuanzi who pursued us. Jian Chen, do you think we'll be able to take the map fragment with our strength? Nubis seemed rather worried. So many presences of Saint Kings had appeared up ahead, which made him feel completely unconfident. We need to steal the fragment through strategy and not force. We can only see now whether we get that opportunity or not. Though, we do have one advantage that others don't have, said Jian Chen. What advantage? Nubis asked curiously. Jian Chen smiled mysteriously. You'll learn about it later. Oh right, spit out your water spirit's pearl. Our identities as foreigners will be revealed in a while when we go steal the map. As soon as we obtain it, we can use the pearls to mask our presences after finding a safe hiding spot. That way, it'll obscure what the other people will be searching for. They'll pour all their efforts into a search for foreigners while they ignore other members of the sea race. That's one extra safeguard for us. Nubis' eyes lit up with interest. Without any hesitation, he immediately spat out his pearl that concealed his magical beast presence, before placing it into his space ring. Jian Chen also spat out his pearl and placed it into the saint artifact. To him, space rings were not exactly safe, as there was the chance for them to be stolen at any moment. Only inside the saint artifact would there be no room for accidents, unless the saint artifact rebelled or he died. Let's just wait here. I'll tell you when it's time to move, said Jian Chen. The great battle only lasted for roughly half an hour. More people from the Hao family became heavily injured, and their numbers were whittled down to around a dozen. 3 people had even died, fleeing the scene in the form of origin souls. The few remaining people resisted bitterly, but they were also all covered in blood. They could not last for much longer. Seeing how the situation was turning against them, the Saint King of the Hao family became extremely stern. He had anticipated that he would encounter ambushes along the way long ago, but had originally thought that nothing would go wrong with Senior Jad's help. Never did he think that so many people would come, with a total of 6 Saint Kings. We can't drag this out any longer, the Saint King thought. With a flash of determination, he knocked his opponent away with a blow. A grand aura immediately began to radiate from his body and he bellowed, 3 palms of heaven's annihilation. A huge palm suddenly condensed 100 meters up in the sky, radiating with a devastating aura. Its appearance seemed to cause a great disturbance in the surrounding laws of the world and caused it to fall into disorder. All the Saint Ruler and even Saint Kings lost control of their abilities to manipulate spatial force. The palm corporealized world force and contained an extremely great power. The space within a radius of several dozen kilometers froze with its appearance, and even the Saint King who was knocked away was affected greatly. He seemed to have fallen into quicksand and all his movements dulled. A Tian-level Saint technique. His expression changed greatly and the blood drained from his face immediately. A Tian-level Saint technique was equivalent to a Saint-tier battle skill on the Tian-Yuan continent, possessing devastating power. Even he, a third heavenly layer Saint King, had not been able to grasp such a powerful technique yet. Even though mere Saint Rulers could begin to comprehend Tian-level Saint techniques, to grasp one definitely not that simple. Many Saint Kings could not even use a single one. On the other hand, only those with outstanding talent in the comprehension of the mysteries of space could create Tian-level Saint techniques. They would need to comprehend through their luck, which was extremely rare even over the span of tens of thousands of years. Only a mere few were able to create their own Saint-tier battle skills from Mercenary City over the countless years it had existed. The giant palm print sealed up the surrounding space before descending with a vast aura. It silently fused with the earth and disappeared completely. All of the people, including the hundreds of Saint Rulers and the Saint King, disappeared with the palm. They had vanished. Only a few Saint Rulers from the Hao family hung in the sky, staring at the area beneath their feet tongue-tied. Below them, a bottomless pit had appeared. It was shaped like a palm and encased a radius of several kilometers. A Saint King and over 100 Saint Rulers had all been pressed into the earth by it. Arg! A cry of rage echoed from the bottomless pit. The Saint King had not died after receiving the attack. Following him, the presence of over 100 Saint Rulers appeared as well. The Tian-level Saint technique had been received by a Saint King and over 100 Saint Rulers at the same time. It did not manage to kill a single person with their resistance. The 3 palms of heaven's annihilation had 3 strikes in total. The further the strikes progressed, the more powerful they became. The Saint King of the Hao family raised his palm mercilessly and another giant palm instantly condensed in the sky. It slammed down onto the ground like a bolt of lightning and caused the entire region to shake violently. The third palm strike followed closely after the second. Wherever it passed by, space would be ripped open to reveal the void, creating a blanket of darkness. Chapter 873, Battle for the Map Fragment, 3. The remaining 2 palm strikes from the Hao family Saint King fell almost at the same time, at the same place. After them, any auras from the bottomless pit had disappeared completely. No one knew if any of the 100 Saint Rulers or that Saint King were still alive anymore. A Saint Ruler of the 7th heavenly layer could heavily wound or directly kill a Saint King of the 1st or 2nd heavenly layer when they used a Saint-tier battle skill. The caster this time was a Saint King, not a Saint Ruler, so the power of the technique was naturally much greater. Even if they were not dead, they definitely would have sustained unimaginable injuries. Jad and the 5 Saint Kings that had traveled over 100 kilometers as they fought noticed this situation. Each and every one of them was shocked, revealing expressions of astoundment. All of them, even the strongest, Jad, had not grasped a Tian-level Saint technique. The Saint King of the Hao family was far below them, yet he already knew a powerful Tian-level Saint technique. It brought disbelief to them. Tian-level Saint techniques were not easy to comprehend. They had all attempted the comprehension at their respective factions, but they had all failed with no exception. The profoundness and complexity of Tian-level saint techniques made it hard for even saint kings to comprehend. Ha ha ha, I'd like to see if you still have the power to take the map fragment. Jad laughed aloud. The Saint King's grasp of the Tian-level saint technique greatly strengthened his side, which made him beam with joy. Their ability to protect the Octaterra map fragment had just greatly increased. The Saint King of the Hao family sneered as he looked at the bottomless pit created from his 3 palm strikes. A heavy price will definitely be paid when you try to take the things of my Hao family. He then turned towards Jad and said, Senior Jad, allow me to lend a hand of support. No need. I'll keep them busy, you leave quickly with the map fragment, Jad replied loudly. The Saint King of the Hao family hesitated slightly, before he clasped his hands at Jad. I shall be taking my leave first then, Senior Jad. I shall be repaying Senior's kindness some other day. With that, he no longer deliberated and flew off into the distance with the remaining experts of the Hao family. Something suddenly happened. A blood-red light flashed past, silently sweeping past the Saint King. The light had appeared with no warning. It caught the Saint King off guard and directly sliced off one of his fingers. The pain caused the Saint King to groan in pain. However, as soon as he saw the lost finger, his expression changed abruptly. The finger was the one he wore his space ring on. The Saint King of the Hao family burst into rage. Like an angered lion, he immediately roared out furiously and followed the falling finger. He wanted to retrieve the space ring. The blood-red light appeared once again, quickly snatching up the space ring before he could get it back. It then flew off. Where do you think you're going? Stay. The Saint King's eyes became bloodshot and he chased after the red light in a mad manner. The map fragment has been taken by someone, cried out Demon Lord Yunfeng, who was battling Jad. He could no longer care and directly abandoned the battle and chased after the red light. The other Saint Kings also stopped their fight, casting their fastest movement techniques to chase after it. The red light only stopped after quickly traversing 100 kilometers. A hunchbacked old woman appeared there soon after and caught the finger with one hand. She immediately removed the space ring from it, before tossing the finger far away. Smiling evilly, she croaked, "The map fragment is mine. Don't even think about laying your hands on it." Before she had even finished her sentence, she moved slightly, shooting off into the distance as a blur. Stay! Jad roared and directly hurled a punch toward her. A huge fist rushed at the old woman with surging ripples of energy. The old woman was also of the 16th star, but she was only a 5th heavenly layer Saint King. She was a fraction weaker than Jad. She quickly turned around, pushing out violently with her shriveled hands which collided with the fist of energy. With a violent rumble, wild ripples of energy dissipated through the surroundings. Not only did Jad's punch fail to slow her down, she used the knockback to speed up her escape. A white, soft hand appeared out of nowhere at this very moment, right in front of the old woman. It landed quickly but gently on the old woman's chest. She had just blocked Jad's strike, so she took the palm strike forcefully after being caught off guard. Spurt. A mouthful of blood surged from the old woman's mouth and she immediately paled. The strike was extremely powerful, already wounding her heavily after she had failed to block it. The map fragment is now mine. A crisp and spirited voice echoed in the old woman's ears. A devastatingly charming and graceful woman in an azure dress appeared before her. The space ring that was originally in the old woman's hands had already fallen into hers. She was also a Saint King, with strength equal to the old woman. She too was a Saint King of the 5th heavenly layer, but her aura was different from the sea races. "You're a human expert," the old woman groaned as she eyed the lady. "I am Qing Yishuan. I thank you for gifting me this map fragment." The lady gave out a crisp giggle. Her smile was extremely pretty, like the blooming of 100 flowers. Afterward, she turned into an azure flash of light and disappeared. She had already left and fled into the distance. The old woman coughed up another mouthful of blood and stared viciously at the lady's fleeing figure. However, she did not give chase. Never did I think that even Qing Yishuan of the 8 great human experts would join in as well and even ambush and heavily injure me. What a bitch! The old woman said with an extremely resentful voice. There were very few people who did not know the name Qing Yishuan in the sea realm. Magical beasts and humans were also present in the sea realm outside of the native sea race. However, there were extremely few of them. All of them had entered the realm as saint rulers with no exception, before cultivating their way to Saint King here. This was why foreign Saint Kings were able to exist in the sea realm. There were 8 most well-known Saint Kings among these humans, all of which who had reached the 16th star as Sea Soul Warriors and at least the 5th heavenly layer. Qing Yishuan happened to be one of them. Behind, Jad and the other 5 Saint Kings all shot past the old woman as blurs, tailing Qing Yishuan. "Everyone, please calm down," boomed an old voice from the surroundings. 2 white-robed, ruddy old men suddenly appeared, blocking their paths. The 2 of them were also part of the 8 human experts. "Death to those who block my way!" Jad roared. He became embroiled in a battle with one of the humans while the other person faced up against the other 5 Saint Kings all by himself. Even though they were on the losing side, they only aimed to delay the 6 Saint Kings, not to fight them in a battle to the death. Only after fleeing several kilometers did Qing Yishuan finally stop with the space ring. She turned back and gave out a long sigh. She muttered to herself, "Fortunately I invited 2 helpers or it'll be impossible to shake them off. I may have paid quite the price but everything will be worth it as long as I've obtained the map fragment." Qing Yishuan's eyes suddenly froze as she spoke. She turned to her side suddenly, only to see 2 young men who seemed to be in their 20s fly over. One of them wore tight, blue robes and had a handsome appearance, radiating with a refined aura. The other wore golden robes and had a head full of golden hair. His expression bore an unconcealed pride. It was Jian Chen and Nubis. "A human and a magical beast," muttered Qing Yishuan. She could tell what the 2 of them were with a single glance. Jian Chen and Nubis directly traveled for Qing Yishuan, before coming to a stop 100 meters away from her. Jian Chen gazed at her calmly and spoke with his hands clasped. "Junior is Yang Yutian. Senior must have taken part in the fight for the Octaterra map fragment." Qing Yishuan's face immediately twitched when she heard them mention the map fragment. Her beautiful eyes turned cold and glared at the 2 of them. "Are you trying to take the map fragment away from me? Brat, I'll ignore your disrespectful attitude from before since we're of the same race. If you're smart, leave immediately. Otherwise, don't be able to blame me for what I do next." Jian Chen smiled as normal. "Senior is mistaken. Junior has purposefully come forward to ask Senior if the space ring really does contain the map fragment or not." Qing Yishuan seemed to realize something with that. Her eyes flashed with urgency and she quickly checked the space ring. Her expression immediately changed greatly, angrily tossing the space ring into the distance. She cried out, "It's actually empty. Senior has already obtained the space ring for some time. It may be empty but the people behind definitely won't believe Senior. They'll definitely think Senior has hidden the map fragment. Not only has Senior failed to obtain it, Senior has to bear the burden of being hunted down by all those sea race experts. Senior's current circumstances really seems miserable," smiled Jian Chen. Chapter 874, Battle for the Map Fragment. 4. Qing Yishuan paled in anger, furiously stamping her feet. She said, "Those bastards of the Hao family. They actually tricked us all. Brat, tell me how you knew that the space ring was empty." A vast aura radiated from Qing Yishuan's body and tightly pressed down on Jian Chen and Nubis. "Senior, the map fragment is still with the Saint King of the Hao family. He's currently heading north with it. If Senior doesn't chase after him now, Senior might not be able to catch up, said Jian Chen. Why do you know this so well? And why should I believe what you've said? Qing Yishuan cried out. She stared fixedly at Jian Chen. Junior has said everything to be said. Whether Senior believes it or not is not my problem, Jian Chen replied calmly. The light in Qing Yishuan's eyes flickered uneasily. After some deliberation, she chose to believe Jian Chen's words in the end. She shot off north as a vague blur. The Octaterra map fragment was just too important. Qing Yishuan was willing to delude herself than believing that the Saint King of the Hao family did not have it. Brat, I'll trust you this once. If I find that you're tricking me, I won't let you off even if we're of the same race. I'll chase you to the ends of the world. Qing Yishuan's words hung in the air. She had disappeared long ago. Odd. Jian Chen, how did you know that the space ring did not contain the map fragment? And how did you know where that Saint King was? Do you have eyes several kilometers away? Nubis could not resist his curiosity after Qing Yishuan had left. Jian Chen smiled mysteriously. Right now is not the time to be discussing these things. That Qing Yishuan is just too strong. I hope the Saint King of the Hao family won't just fall to a single strike of hers. Though, he does possess a saint-tier battle skill. If Qing Yishuan wants to take things from him, it shouldn't be easy. Let's go Nubis. The time for us to obtain the map fragment may be coming soon. Jian Chen and Nubis erased their presences, carefully advancing forward. The Lord of Jia City and the 5 other Saint Kings were all kept busy by the 2 old men, battling where they were before. However, the Saint King who had lost his finger was not present and had already disappeared. The ripples from the battle radiated to over thousands of kilometers away and drew in all the experts in that range. There were already a few saint rulers spectating from several dozen kilometers away in the air. The Saint King who had lost a finger had already separated from the saint rulers of the Hao family by several thousand kilometers north. He currently traveled at full speed by himself, heading for the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. The secret of my space ring will be discovered very quickly. I need to head to the Heaven's Spirit Hall as soon as possible. I'll be able to call on the elders of the hall to assist me in fending off people once I get there. I'll be out of harm's way even if 116th star Sea Soul warriors appear, he muttered. He had not placed the map fragment in his space ring and had instead carried it on him. At this moment, a grand aura quickly appeared from far away and headed directly for him. The Saint King's expression changed greatly as he cried out, "Oh no, it's a 16th star expert. Did they discover that the space ring was empty so quickly?" The Saint King became filled with worry. He no longer held back anymore as a strand of faint red mist enshrouded his body. It immediately allowed his speed to skyrocket. He had cast a secret technique that cost him some of his vitality to flee. "You old bastard, you can't escape anymore." A crisp voice echoed in the Saint King's ears. Qing Yishuan had also cast a secret technique, shooting over like a lightning bolt with speed that completely exceeded the Saint King's. He said nothing, fleeing as if his life depended on it with gritted teeth. However, no matter how he increased his speed, he was unable to widen his distance from Qing Yishuan. The two of them gradually grew closer and closer and the distance shrunk to just 100 kilometers from the initial several hundred, which then decreased to several dozen. Fuck it. The Saint King of the Hao family immediately stopped running, seeing how it was useless. He hung in midair with a pale face and a grand aura immediately radiated from his body. He was like an ancient beast that was slowly awakening from its slumber. Tian-level saint technique, 3 palms of heaven's annihilation. He cried out. He cast the saint-tier battle skill once again, causing the surrounding world force to churn. It condensed into a huge, solid palm despite world force being invisible and pressed down onto the surroundings with stupendous pressure. It locked up the region in the radius of several dozen kilometers and abruptly froze the space there. As Qing Yishuan reached a distance of 5 kilometers away from him, the space around her suddenly froze and immobilized her. The powerful aura of the Tian level Saint technique locked onto her. She reacted violently, even with her strength of the 5th heavenly layer. Vast quantities of Saint force surged from her body, immediately shattering the frozen space. However, the quicksand-like space around her still slowed her movements greatly. A metallic azure sword appeared in her hand. With a cry, she turned into an azure stream of light that shot for the Saint King. She attempted to disrupt his battle skill. The Saint King of the Hao family did not need much time to charge up with his strength, so he reached completion very quickly. He flipped over his hand and slammed it down forcefully. Immediately, the enormous palm in the sky rumbled. It came crashing down with a devastating pressure. Qing Yishuan's dress and hair danced in the wind. She gave up her attack on the Saint King and pointed her sword at the sky. She turned into a blur and shot up, planning to use her own strength to forcefully resist the battle skill. The battle skill had locked onto her completely anyway, so she did not have the option of fleeing. All she could do was take it head-on. Boom! Qing Yishuan's elegant body collided with the palm that was several kilometers wide. Their sizes did not match up at all, but it produced a deafening boom. Violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, ripping open space and destroying whole regions, turning it all into a blanket of darkness. The giant palm fell from the sky without any decrease in force with an unstoppable manner. It left a bottomless palm print in the ground, which caused it to tremble. Qing Yishuan had been pushed into the earth with it. However, she flew out from it very quickly. Powerful, slightly azure Saint force permeated her surroundings and caused the space around her to tremble because of the energy. Forcefully taking a Saint tier battle skill head-on, she was unable to remain uninjured despite her strength. Her hair was in a horrible mess, while her face was slightly pale. Her clothes were quite ruffled up as well, clearly in quite a bad shape. Rumble. A great boom resounded in the sky and a second palm fell. Its power was even greater than the first. Qing Yishuan poured all her strength into resistance, but she was still no match. She was pressed into the ground once again, this time emerging with a trail of blood at the corner of her lips. Blood had drained from her face, she was clearly quite injured now. The third palm strike followed soon after. This was the most powerful one, enough to collapse the space it passed by. Spurt. Forcefully enduring the last strike, Qing Yishuan vomited a mouthful of blood. She became pale, while she seemed completely disheveled. She was in a horrible shape, now heavily injured. Even the Saint King of the Hao family found it rather hard to endure after casting 2 Tian-level Saint techniques consecutively in a short time. He paled slightly and seemed extremely weak. After he struck down with the 3 palms, the Saint King immediately began to flee. He paid no regards to the outcome. A soaring sword qi shot toward him from behind. Qing Yishuan had risen from the ground, pouring all her energy into killing the Saint King of the Hao family. She may have been heavily injured, but she was still a 5th heavenly layer Saint King after all. She had an extremely tenacious life and still possessed a strong ability for battle. "Leave behind the Octaterra map fragment and I'll spare your life," she cried out, before quickly being embroiled in a battle with the Saint King of the Hao family. However, neither of them had detected that 2 insignificant saint rulers who were already 500 kilometers from them as they fought. The 2 saint rulers had completely erased their presence while hiding away carefully. They were Jian Chen and Nubis. A golden light shot out from the center of Jian Chen's eyebrows, before it turned into a miniature golden tower in his hand. Jian Chen turned to Nubis and said, "We need to hide in the saint artifact. Don't resist." A pillar of white light flashed out and disappeared with Jian Chen and Nubis. They had been sucked away by the power of the saint artifact. Taking the 2 of them away, the Saint artifact then sunk into the ground, tunneling toward the battle. Qing Yishuan and the Saint King of the Hao family fought even-handedly in the sky. In Qing Yishuan's peak condition, she would have been able to deal with him easily, but she was currently heavily injured. She still possessed a very strong battle capability, but it was far from when she was in her best state. The two of them fought for 20 minutes. The Saint King ended up being stabbed in the chest by Qing Yishuan and immediately vomited up a mouthful of blood. The mighty sword Qi turned his clothes to shreds, while a black, square piece of leather around 30 centimeters in length and width drifted into the air. It was undamaged. The Saint King reacted violently when he saw this piece of leather. He ignored his injuries and grabbed at the leather with all he had. However, Qing Yishuan was faster than him. Her thin fingers turned into a blur, snatching the piece of leather from the air. Her face became wild with joy as she cried out, "The Octaterra map fragment! I've finally obtained it." Qing Yishuan no longer stuck around after she grabbed it. She immediately turned around in an attempt to leave. The Saint King roared out angrily, slamming his palm onto Qing Yishuan's back with all his strength. A mouthful of blood spurted from her mouth and worsened her injuries even further. However, she took advantage of this strike, using the knockback to flee and increase in speed. She no longer wanted to be tied up with this Saint King. "Qing Yishuan, my Hao family will definitely not let you go," roared the Saint King. He was furious. Qing Yishuan fled pale-faced. She wanted to find a safe area as soon as possible to recuperate. The situation of her body was not very great at all. Due to the intense battle before, she had not suppressed her injuries, so they were constantly worsening. It had reached an extremely horrible level. She would struggle to deal with even an ordinary Saint Emperor right now. "I may be heavily injured, but it's all worth it as long as I can obtain the Octaterra map fragment." Qing Yishuan glanced at the black piece of leather in her hand and could not help but reveal a smile on her pale face. Afterward, she casually placed the map fragment into her bosom. She did not place it into her space ring. A golden light shot out from the ground at this very moment, directly toward her. Chapter 875, The Final Owner Shocked, Qing Yishuan immediately raised her vigilance. She swung the sword in her hand and directly stabbed at the ball of golden light. Cling! With a metallic sound, the golden light was blasted away by Qing Yishuan's attack and revealed itself as a golden tower. However, it suddenly began to radiate with a golden light, encasing a radius of several hundred meters. Even Qing Yishuan herself became enveloped within. The Saint artifact used its power to convert the surroundings into its own domain. Although it did not possess full control over the area, it was able to suck up or let out anything that did not resist into the region. The gold-clothed nubis left the artifact space and appeared behind Qing Yishuan silently. He spat out a mouthful of venomous gas. The venom of the silver-striped golden snakes was ranked third in the world. As a ninth heavenly layer saint ruler, his venom could even take out Saint Kings. Qing Yishuan failed to notice it and took in a breath and immediately began to feel dizzy. "Shit, it's poison." Shocked, Qing Yishuan immediately discovered that someone had appeared behind her. Just as she was about to react accordingly, Nubis viciously grabbed her back and impaled her with his fingers. The venom surged into her body like the water of a broken dam. Qing Yishuan cried out while great quantities of saint force churned within her, knocking Nubis away with her overwhelming strength. Her face was like frost and her eyes overflowed with killing intent. She directly stabbed out at Nubis with her sword. Nubis did not fear her and immediately began to fight back. If Qing Yishuan was in her peak condition, he might have been limited to fleeing, but she was now heavily injured and poisoned by him. She could only use half of her strength, not enough to threaten Nubis anymore. They hurriedly clashed a few times, before Nubis was impaled through the chest. He was heavily injured, but Qing Yishuan had also taken a fist from Nubis, which caused her to vomit blood as she was knocked back. Before she could stabilize herself, Jian Chen appeared quietly before her through the use of the artifact. His hand snaked into her bosom like a lightning bolt and he immediately came into contact with her two soft, full breasts. They pressed against his palm, causing her clothes around the chest region to bulge. He felt the map fragment as soon as he stuck his hand in. Without any hesitation, he snatched the fragment tightly with some force, but he grabbed more than that. Jian Chen could tell from the feeling that he had also seized a piece of cloth and a portion of silky smooth skin. Arg! Qing Yishuan could not help but cry out. She became wide-eyed and stared blankly at the hand that had reached into her bosom. She was filled with disbelief. She returned to her senses immediately. Her slightly flushed face was replaced with anger as she cried out, "You pervert!" As they were too close, she was unable to lash out with her sword, so she directly threw a palm strike forward in this urgent situation. A palm strike from an angered fifth heavenly layer Saint King could not be underestimated. Despite her injuries, this strike was beyond what Jian Chen's chaotic body could withstand. Spurt! Jian Chen immediately spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying off far away. His hand was also pulled out from her chest, along with the black map fragment that he had grasped tightly. However, there was something else. Her white undergarment had been grabbed too, which came out with the map fragment. It waved freely in the air with a lingering body warmth, giving off a slight fragrance. Qing Yishuan became bright red when she saw the undergarment in Jian Chen's hand. Her eyes burned with fury, while her killing intent shot into the sky. "You pervert, I'll obliterate you." Qing Yishuan fell into a frenzy of rage. She charged at Jian Chen with her sword as she ignored her injuries. "Let's go. This woman is too powerful. She's still so powerful even with those injuries." Nubis appeared beside Jian Chen in a flash, grabbing him before shooting off into the distance. As that all happened, the saint artifact turned into a streak of golden light and disappeared into Jian Chen's forehead. "Where do you think you're going? Today is the day of your death." Qing Yishuan screamed from behind. Her hatred for Jian Chen had already reached a bone-deep level. "You've been poisoned by me. If you don't suppress its spread, you'll die before you've even caught up to us. You should know very well just how powerful the venom of a silver-striped golden snake is," Nubis called back out in an attempt to stop her pursuit. "I've burned the two of you into my memory. I'll kill you even if I have to chase the two of you to the ends of the earth," roared Qing Yishuan. She did not continue her pursuit and instead glanced at the two of them coldly. Afterward, she turned around and flew off in the opposite direction. Nubis was right, her body was indeed in a horrible condition, heavily injured and then poisoned. If she did not deal with it as soon as possible, she would die even if she was a Saint King. Nubis traversed tens of thousands of kilometers with Jian Chen as fast as he could before finally coming to a stop. Afterward, they both entered the saint artifact. Inside there, they healed very quickly and returned to their peak conditions under the treatment of the artifact spirit's origin energy. Only then did they finally relax. Stealing from a fifth heavenly layer Saint King was an extremely risky thing to do for them. If they had lost focus for even a split second, their lives could have been in danger. "We've finally obtained the map fragment." Jian Chen smiled excitedly. He turned his hand to look at the map fragment as he did not have the opportunity earlier. However, his face suddenly froze and revealed an odd expression. Although he had felt that he had grabbed something else with the map fragment in the situation before, he had never bothered to look at it. Only now did he discover that he had also grabbed Qing Yishuan's white undergarment. "Let's see what the Octaterra map fragment is like." Nubis also looked toward Jian Chen's hand, but he soon locked onto the undergarment. He became stupefied while his mouth became agape. He was filled with disbelief. Jian Chen, what's that?" Nubis pointed toward the undergarment as he stuttered. Jian Chen raised it up for a closer examination, finally confirming that he had not seen wrong. He could not help but smile bitterly. That's an undergarment. Jian Chen, why, you've actually taken her undergarment, said Nubis as he was dumbstruck. It was a critical situation. How would I have noticed things like this? Jian Chen forced a smile. Whoa, Jian Chen, you're just too powerful. That person is a 5th heavenly layer Saint King. No wonder she said she would chase us to the ends of the earth. Turns out you, Nubis could not help but break into laughter toward the end. Jian Chen could only force a smile as he stared at the undergarment. He carefully placed it into his space ring. He planned to return it to Qing Yishuan when they met again in the future. Alright, let's not dwell on this matter. Let's check out the map fragment first. Nubis immediately became serious when they reached the matter of the map fragment. He immediately rushed up to Jian Chen to examine the fragment. It was a piece of black, square leather. It was extremely tough and even Saint Kings would struggle to destroy it. On it was a blurry image and with close examination, it was not difficult to see that it was an incomplete map. This fragment is a part of the map to the Octaterra Divine Hall, as well as the key to the Divine Hall. We need to collect all the pieces before being able to form the whole thing, said Nubis. Jian Chen nodded and immediately put it away. He pulled out the water spirit's pearl and gulped it down. We can't dwell here. We better leave quickly. Nubis nodded in agreement before swallowing his pearl too. He left the artifact space alongside Jian Chen. Chapter 876, Emissary of the Serpent God Hall, 1, Swallowing the Water's Spirit Pearls, their presences turned back into the sea races. They then left together. Jian Chen and Nubis erased their presence and carefully headed for the Dare tribe. Several vast presences appeared from behind them at this very moment. It was Jad, Yunfeng and the other, shooting over like bolts of lightning. They headed directly for Jian Chen and Nubis. Both of them immediately became nervous. They did not have the ability to flee from 6 Saint Kings, especially when one of them was of the 6th heavenly layer. Stay calm and keep the act. Jian Chen stopped and sent a mental message to Nubis. If they were to run right now, it would definitely raise suspicion. The 6 Saint Kings arrived before them very quickly. They examined Jian Chen and Nubis, before paying no particular attention to them when they saw how the two were only saint rulers. Seniors, is there anything we can help you with? Jian Chen clasped his hands at them and asked politely. Did you see an azure-dressed lady fly by? Yunfeng asked condescendingly as he stared arrogantly at the two of them. No, Jian Chen replied seriously. Jad seemed to realize something as his eyes glimmered. I remember you too. Weren't you at the Jas auction? Why were you here? The others all looked toward Jian Chen and Nubis while cold lights flickered in their eyes. They revealed expressions of suspicion. Both Jian Chen and Nubis' hearts sank slightly. Never did they think that Jad would remember 2 juniors he had only met once with his status. If Jian Chen did not explain this properly, it would definitely raise doubt. Any small error in this crucial moment could lead to their deaths. Senior, right after we left Jas City, we sensed many experts heading in the same direction, so we went to check out what was going on out of curiosity. This is why we're here. Jian Chen casually forged a reason, hoping to trick them. How would it be possible for them to participate in this with their puny strength? Yunfeng, let's go find Qing Yishuan quickly and not waste any more time here. A 3rd heavenly layer old man said arrogantly. He looked down on the two of them. You're right. Finding Qing Yishuan is the most important matter at hand. Yunfeng nodded before he flew off first. The other 4 Saint Kings tailed behind Yunfeng closely. Although they were not companions of each other, they possessed the same objective, so they decided to work together to deal with Qing Yishuan. She was just too strong, and she also had two extremely powerful helpers. It would have been very difficult for them if they moved alone. With Yun Feng's departure, Jad did not cause any more trouble for the two of them. He flew off in the other direction. Jian Chen and Nubi's beating hearts finally calmed down as they watched them disappear. They directly headed for the Dare tribe afterward without any hesitation. When they had arrived, the news that Qing Yishuan of the 8 human experts had taken the Octaterra map fragment quickly spread out like wildfire across the entire territory of the Serpent God Hall. It caused quite the commotion. Many greedy sea race experts and some great clans began to band together in search of Qing Yishuan's traces. The Saint King of the Hao family dragged his injured body back to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. He did not return home immediately and instead traveled to the center of the territory. At the center, a huge divine hall hung in the sky, filling the surroundings with a grand pressure. The Saint King entered the hall with no obstructions and was taken to a grand conference hall under the lead of a guard. A black-robed old man sat high up in the conference hall. He was short, only a meter tall, but his eyes shone with spirit. A vast pressure radiated from his body, encasing the entire hall. He was a hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, one of the most revered figures of the hall after the hall master. The Saint King of the Hao family immediately became meek before him, unwilling to carry any arrogance. He clasped his hands at the hall elder. Hao Dak pays respects to hall elder. The hall elder stared at the Saint King, calmed, and asked, "What do you need?" "Esteemed hall elder, I had succeeded in purchasing the map fragment, but it was taken by Qing Yishuan along the way. Qing Yishuan is a foreigner, yet she has interfered with the matters of the sea race. She has gone overboard and definitely cannot be forgiven. However, my Hao family does not have the strength to deal with the 8 human experts. I hope the esteemed hall elder can stand up for my Hao family and take back what was ours," the Saint King said unhappily. In the sea realm, the 3 halls possessed a supreme status. They were the rulers of the sea realm and were extremely territorial. They normally would never interfere when organizations fought each other in their own territories, but they would never stand by when a foreigner decided to create troubles in the sea realm. The hall elder pondered for a while with his eyes closed before replying, "Hao Dak, 5 of the 8 human experts have already sworn their allegiance to one of the 3 halls. Qing Yishuan belongs to the Sea Goddess Hall. If we move against Qing Yishuan, we will definitely be met with the Sea Goddess Hall's resistance. There might even be conflict. Do you think that we, the Heaven Spirit Hall, are willing to risk something like this to deal with Qing Yishuan over such a small matter? What? She has already pledged her allegiance to the Sea Goddess Hall? Was she ordered by them to steal the Octaterra map fragment?" the Saint King asked in shock. The hall elder shook his head. "Don't dwell on the matter of the map fragment anymore. Now that all 8 pieces have appeared, of which the Sea Goddess Hall has 4, the Serpent God Hall has 2, while we, the Heaven Spirit Hall, has 2, I believe the search for the Octaterra Divine Hall will begin soon. Every map fragment can allow 20 people in. When the search begins, the Heaven Spirit Hall will personally negotiate with the 2 other clans to get them to hand over the right to pick a total 20 people, 10 from each clan. We'll get some extremely powerful peak 14th star Sea Soul warriors to go in to ensure we have the strongest team. This way, we can reap the greatest rewards." The pale-faced Qing Yishuan sat in a secret basement in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Her face was rather dark from the poison. The venom of the silver-striped golden snake was just too powerful. Even with her overwhelming strength, she could only forcefully suppress it and was unable to force it out. A striking middle-aged man sat opposite to her. His face was weathered from experience, while he naturally radiated with a noble bearing. "You're quite heavily injured. Looks like there were quite a lot of people that had come for the map fragment, but it's all be worth it. Once you obtain that object, your strength will skyrocket. You would have nothing to fear even if you face up against 9th heavenly layer Saint Kings," smiled the man. His expression carried unconcealable joy. Qing Yishuan sat there pale-faced. She said, "I may be disappointing you then. The map fragment is not on me." The man became stunned and immediately sat up straight. He cried out in surprise, "What? You haven't obtained the map fragment?" Qing Yishuan's dazzling eyes immediately filled up with a cold killing intent. She ground her teeth. "I had already stolen the map fragment originally, but I was caught off guard and ambushed by 2 juniors while I was heavily injured. They took it away from me." "Juniors? What were their strengths?" The man's eyes flickered in surprise as he stared fixedly at Qing Yishuan. "They weren't Saint Kings," Qing Yishuan replied icily. A powerful killing intent and anger radiated from her body uncontrollably, causing the temperature of the room to plummet. The scene where the map fragment along with her undergarment was taken flashed through her head. It made her anger and killing intent skyrocket even more. 2 little juniors who weren't even Saint Kings actually managed to take something from you, with your strength. The man struggled to believe it. Qing Yishuan sat up instantly and stared at the man with a pressuring gaze. She grumbled, "That was what happened. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. The poison has spread by quite a lot, so I need to head back to the hall immediately. I'll be leaving." Qing Yishuan turned around and left as she fumed. "Qing Yishuan, according to our agreement, I can't give it to you since you haven't finished the mission," said the middle-aged man. Qing Yishuan fumbled slightly, before leaving the room. She thought, "I'll come back for the map fragment after I'm healed. You brats, I definitely won't let you off. I'll kill you even if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth." Qing Yishuan quickly spat out a sentence before leaving, "The map fragment's not on me. It was taken by a human saint ruler and a Class 7 magical beast." As her words were spread, it created a great commotion. Qing Yishuan, one of the 8 renowned human experts, had actually been robbed by 2 puny saint rulers. This caused a lot of disbelief. Despite the disbelief, the people in search for the map fragment still kept this in mind. Other than Qing Yishuan, they included humans and magical beast saint rulers in their search. They would stop and question almost every human or magical beast saint ruler they came by, leading to countless complaints and protests from both races. However, what could they do? The previous patriarch, the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders of the Menghuang tribe gathered in the highest room of the tower in their tribe, each extremely stern. Chapter 877, Emissary of the Serpent God Hall, 2. After observing the pale expressions of the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders, the former patriarch asked, "Are the 2 experts recruited by the Dare tribe really as powerful as you've described, where one of them fought Xia Wang on an equal level while the other defeated the 3 of you all by himself?" "Patriarch, they're definitely stronger than us. Now that the Dare tribe has such powerful supporters, just what should we do?" A protector elder grumbled. His voice was rather weak as he was injured. The former patriarch frowned, also conflicted in his heart. The developments had already exceeded his expectations. Several vast presences appeared outside at this very moment and directly made way for the tribe. The sudden appearance of powerful auras caused the 4 of them to frown slightly, but it was soon replaced by astonishment. The current patriarch immediately cried out, "It's Senner. Senner has returned." Senner's name was Yensen. He was the great-grandson of the current patriarch and was a prodigy in cultivation. His talent was so outstanding that he cultivated his way to saint ruler in the span of 400 years, becoming an expert in the region. He then became valued by the Serpent God Hall and was chosen as an emissary of the hall, then taken as a disciple of a hall elder. They held an extremely high regard for him and his future was very bright. The entire Menghuang tribe had increased greatly in status all because of him. There were even people who predicted that he would reach Saint King in the distant future and reach great renown among the Sea realm. Yensen had already cultivated at the Serpent God Hall for over 300 years as of the now. His strength was even more terrifying than before. Other than those from the Serpent God Hall, there was barely anyone else who knew exactly what level of cultivation he had reached. The 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe immediately left the tower to go and welcome him personally. The 4 of them cared deeply for Yensen, a talented junior who had an extremely great chance at breaking through to Saint King. 4 figures flew toward the tribe quickly. They were all young men in the same attire, with a serpent's embroidery at the left side of their chest. It was the emblem of the Serpent God Hall. Yensen, is that the tribe you were born in up ahead? Your seniors seem to be coming out to welcome you. Probably only you can enjoy such an honor. Laughed a young man who had a scaled forehead. His tone made him seem like he was currying up to Yensen. You don't say, hey. Yensen's the genius of our Serpent God Hall. He's ranked up there even among all the other emissaries. He'll definitely break through to the 15th star and gloriously become an elder of our hall. He might even become a hall elder, an existence only second to the hall master, said another young man, praising Yensen without hiding anything. There was a faint pattern on his face, but other than that, his appearance did not stand out. Yensen was a young man who seemed to be in his 20s and was striking. He could not help but reveal a sliver of arrogance from the praises of his 2 companions and replied, "The 2 of you speak too highly of me. Between the 14th star and the 15th star is a chasm that is extremely hard to bridge. We can't be certain if I can make it over that gap or not. There's still a difficult journey before I can become an elder. Yensen, we have an important mission this time. We need to return the item to the hall elders as soon as possible, so we can't stick around for too long. None of us can bear the burden if something goes wrong," said the last young man. He was a broad-chested man who seemed to be in his 30s. He spoke with an exceptionally icy tone and had a cool face. Yensen frowned and retorted, "Hey, don't you understand the hall elder's orders? I'm the leader of the squad, not you. All of you need to listen to me. Since when did you become in charge?" The young man immediately shut up and silently followed behind the 3 of them. With Yensen's arrival, he received a warm welcome from the entire tribe but was quickly invited into the tower by the 4 experts. Inside, the old patriarch explained the threat they currently faced to Yensen. "What? Grandfather has been heavily injured? And the protector elders, you've been injured too? This is outrageous. Who dares bully my Menghong tribe? Don't they know that I am a part of the tribe as well? I don't care who they are, I'm not going to be letting them off easily." Yensen immediately became angered and slammed the table. As an emissary, he only feared organizations that possessed Saint Kings. Any other third-rate or second-rate force was not worthy of his attention. Fantastic. With Senner and the 3 emissaries' assistants, the 2 experts won't be able to pose any threat to us any longer. The current patriarch laughed happily. Yensen's sudden return was a blessing for the Menghuang tribe. "Grandfather, protector elders, wait here. Senner will lead my 3 companions to go teach those 2 experts recruited by the Dare tribe a solid lesson. I'll let them know just how powerful we are," Yensen said with a sense of justice. All right. It's about time that we, the Menghuang tribe, showed off our strength. It'll show the other tribes that we really are strong. Senner, just wait. The 4 of us will come with you as well," said the former patriarch. Afterward, the 4 emissaries and the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe departed and headed off for the Dare tribe threateningly. Jian Chen and Nubis were currently discussing with the Dare tribe patriarch about how to deal with the Menghuang tribe tens of thousands of kilometers away. They had no clue that the Menghuang tribe had actually already set off and were charging toward them with ill intent. "Warriors, the Menghuang tribe probably won't be attacking my Dare tribe for the time being. How about you 2 stay at my tribe for these days? Would that work?" The patriarch treated Jian Chen and newbies extremely courteously as if they were gods being worshipped. Patriarch, the two of us still have some other important matters to attend to. We won't be able to stay for too long. Since the Menghuang tribe isn't coming, why don't the two of us pay a visit to the Menghuang tribe with the patriarch tomorrow in the morning and completely alleviate the patriarch of the burden of dealing with the Menghuang tribe? Asked Jian Chen. He had come to the Sea Realm with the intention of getting some extra time to power up. He could not afford to spend so much time dealing with these miscellaneous matters. Now that the problem of the monster cores had been resolved, Jian Chen only needed time before he could reach the third layer of the chaotic body and gain the power of a Saint King. Newbie still had some hidden essence to refine as well, so the day when he reached Class 8 was not far off either. The patriarch of the Dare tribe naturally felt extremely regretful over their hurried needed to depart, but he knew that his small tribe was not enough to get these two great experts to stay. All he could do was add, "All right, let's go to the Menghuang tribe tomorrow and finish them off since the two of you have other important matters to attend. We definitely can't let them off so easily after taking an interest in us." "If it's possible," muttered the patriarch. The light in his eyes flickered as they revealed a bubbling wild ambition. Jian Chen understood that the patriarch wanted to borrow their power to swallow up the Menghuang tribe. He said in reminder, "Patriarch, the two of us are only tasked with blocking and repelling the Menghuang tribe, to prevent them from forming any sort of threat to your tribe. We have not been called on to help you do other things." A space ring appeared in Jian Chen's hand silently and he gently placed it before the patriarch. "Patriarch, here is 2,100,000 grand quality crystal coins. We are returning it to the patriarch. Please accept it." He had obtained all these coins from killing the black-robed old man when he had saved Kaya outside Jia City. The two of them went off to rest after their discussion with the patriarch, planning to pay a visit to the Menghuang tribe the very next day. Although the Sea Realm had no night, they possessed a special way of keeping track of time, guaranteeing that the time here matched up with the world outside. Jian Chen directly entered the artifact to check on the white tiger after he returned to his dwelling. The tiger curled up in the palace constructed by the artifact spirit in the size of a small cat, while a huge pile of 1,000-year or even 10,000-year heavenly resources was placed nearby. In the recent period, Jian Chen had not let the white tiger out and instead made it devour heavenly resources to increase its strength. After all, it was still too weak. It could not deal with any of the problems outside. There were also many more experts in the Sea Realm than on the Tianyuan continent. In the span of 5 years, the tiger has already reached the 5th cycle as a Heaven Saint Master. It's equal to a cycle a year. He'll probably be able to reach Class 7 in less than a year if he continues like this. At that time, he'll have the ability to flee even if he encounters 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers, muttered Jian Chen as he stared at the white tiger. Afterward, he left the artifact space. In the morning of the next day, several grand presences suddenly began to surge forward from the horizon just as they planned to leave with the patriarch. "Whoever injured the people of my Menghuang tribe, get out here right now and die." A roar of anger resounded from the horizon. It was like a clap of thunder that echoed through the surroundings. 8 ant-like figures quickly approached them along the horizon. "It's the people of the Menghuang tribe," muttered the patriarch as he stared into the distance. "Just when we wanted to go looking for them, they've shown up themselves. Saves us quite some time," sneered newbies. He completely looked down on these newcomers. "The experts of the Menghuang tribe are attacking, the Menghuang tribe is attacking, make all preparations. We will protect the tribe with our lives and die with it if we have to." The Dare tribe that was originally peaceful fell into a mess immediately after the thunderous voice echoed past. Thousands of tribesmen ran out from their huts. Their faces were either filled with determination, fear or dread. The patriarch of the Dare tribe frowned slightly as he saw the tribe instantly fall into mayhem. He bellowed, "Don't worry. Our tribe has the assistance of 2 peak 14th star warriors. We do not need to fear the Menghuang tribe." The members of the tribe remembered that they too had experts from the patriarch's words, so they calmed down immediately. The 8 saint rulers of the Menghuang tribe arrived above the Dare tribe very quickly and surrounded them. The strength of the group caused many people of the Dare tribe to frown. They had a total of 8 saint rulers, far beyond any estimations made by the Dare tribe. Yensen floated high in the sky arrogantly, staring coldly at the people below. He looked at them as he would look at ants and said haughtily, "I am Yensen of the Menghuang tribe, emissary of the serpent god Hall. Your tribe dared to injure the people of my Menghuang tribe, so today, I, Yensen, will be representing the serpent god Hall to punish the Dare tribe. Where are the patriarch and the other 2 accomplices? Why don't you hurry up and come to accept my punishment? It's Yensen. He's Yensen, the prodigy of the Menghuang tribe. Yensen's an emissary of the serpent god Hall. His status is extremely great and yet he's actually come to our tribe. We're completely screwed this time. 4 emissaries have come at the same time. Our tribe has no more hope anymore. Even if we have 2 14th star sea soul warriors, it won't change anything." Yensen's status as an emissary frightened quite a few people of the Dare tribe and caused them to fall into despair once again despite just regaining some hope earlier. They no longer felt lucky. To them, becoming enemies with the serpent god Hall was a death sentence. Emissaries of the Halls could not be provoked. Chapter 878, 2 against 8, Never did I think he had returned and would even come with 3 other emissaries. The Dare tribe patriarch could not help but become stern after seeing the 4 emissaries in the sky. Their appearance pressured him greatly. What bullshit emissaries! Acting so brazenly before me, the great Nubis, have you grown sick of living? Nubis felt no fear. He rushed into the sky with his aura released, facing Yensen's group along with Jian Chen 100 meters in the sky. Yensen stared coldly at the 2 of them and growled, "So you're the 2 who injured the protector elders and the patriarch of my tribe? So what if we did? Brat, do you want to take revenge for them? Too bad you might not be able to with your current strength." Nubis crossed his arms and sneered at Yensen. His tone was scornful. Yensen was a prodigy that rarely appeared even in 1,000 years within the sea realm. He was raised in the palms of his seniors, maturing and being picked as an emissary of the Hall. He had also taken an elder as his master. There were only a few people within the serpent god Hall who could match his status, so he was a prominent figure. Even ordinary 15th star sea soul warriors needed to be courteous to him, so how could he, such a highly regarded prodigy, take Nubis' scornful words? He immediately became enraged and a thick killing intent began to pour out from his heart. "I don't care which organization you belong to. I will be taking your life today. You need to learn the consequences of offending me. Do not challenge the dignity of a serpent god Hall emissary." A trident appeared in Yensen's hand, which he directly used to stab at Nubis. Immediately, the surrounding water-attributed energy condensed around the trident before forming a huge, trident-shaped figure. It stabbed toward Nubis with tremendous force. Nubis turned into a blur and shot off into the distance with a slight movement. He said, "There are too many people here. I don't want to injure innocent people, so if you want to fight, come with me." Yensen's trident pierced through the blur left behind by Nubis and caused that region of space to tremble. The residual force shot off into the distance, disintegrating the mountain range over 10 kilometers away. Yensen pulled back the trident and immediately pursued Nubis. The 3 other emissaries followed closely behind him. Jian Chen turned into a flash and followed Nubis. However, just as he did that, the space around him began to shake. A silver-white spear the thickness of an arm shot toward him from behind. The former patriarch of the Menghuang tribe had also struck in that moment against Jian Chen, hitting him silently with an amush. A cold light flashed in his eyes and chaotic force filled every inch of his body. Jian Chen pushed the chaotic body to its limits. A faint, golden glow immediately appeared as the vast energies of the spear struck Jian Chen's back. In this crucial moment, the golden silk mail had blocked the spear's attack. However, the former patriarch was a saint ruler of the 8th heavenly layer. The silk mail was unable to block the power of his attack. Its defenses collapsed while the spear continued onward with a decrease in force and brutally struck Jian Chen in the back. But what happened next caused the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe to become wide-eyed and drowned in disbelief. The spear did not impale Jian Chen as expected when it struck him and instead came to a stop after it hit. It was unable to continue any further. It seemed like the spear had struck a steel board, not a human. How is that possible? His defense is so powerful. Is he part of the Turtle Clan? The 4 experts all cried out. Not only was their opponent powerful, the toughness of his body was also anomalous. This exceeded all their expectations, immediately pressuring them greatly. This was because it would be extremely difficult for them to pose a threat to an opponent with such powerful defense with their strength. People of the Menghuang tribe, since you've decided to take the initiative and attack, you can't really blame me. Jian Chen pulled out the dragon-slaying sword coldly. He shot toward the 4 experts and began a grand battle with them in the sky. 3 of the 4 were all saint rulers below the 5th heavenly layer. Only the former patriarch belonged to the 8th, but Jian Chen's chaotic body could withstand attacks from the 7th. Together with the golden silk mail, it was extremely difficult for the former patriarch to harm him. On another side, Nubis and Yensen fought each other 100 kilometers away. Yensen was an emissary, so he was much more powerful than ordinary saint rulers. Unfortunately, he was only of the 8th heavenly layer and was not Nubis' opponent at all. He had already fallen into a disadvantaged position as soon as they began fighting. It's like an idiot's dream for you to want to punish me with your strength. Nubis laughed aloud. He detested Yensen's arrogant, condescending attitude, so he did not hold back with the offensive language. Nubis' hands were surrounded by surging saint force. He used his left hand to grab the trident as he slapped Yensen's face with his right. Yensen wanted to dodge, but the surrounding space suddenly froze and trapped him tightly. Even though it only lasted momentarily, it was enough to shave away Yensen's time to dodge or block. Slap. With a crisp blow, Yensen took a solid slap to the face. It was very powerful, causing Yensen's handsome face to swell and bulge. Even a few teeth were knocked out. Yensen became stunned by this slap. He seemed to reject the reality of things. He had displayed a prodigious talent ever since he was young and had grown up in the protection and care of his seniors. Even after he joined the Serpent God Hall, he was raised as a genius. Even most of the other emissaries treated him politely, unwilling to provoke or anger him. This gradually groomed a certain arrogance within him, while Nubis' slap directly knocked the light out of him. He had never been so insulted in his entire life. The 3 emissaries who watched on the side also became stunned as Yensen took the slap. A light of disbelief flooded from their eyes. Yensen was an emissary, as well as the disciple of a hall elder. His status was grand, yet there was actually someone who ignored the pride of the Serpent God Hall by slapping Yensen in the face. This was inconceivable. This was due to the fact that in the territory of the Serpent God Hall, even Saint Kings of Peak clans did not dare to treat emissaries as such. The emissaries were equivalent to the spokespeople of the Serpent God Hall. Slapping them was that same as slapping the Serpent God Hall. Yensen returned to his senses very quickly. He immediately fell into a rage as he felt the scorching pain on his face. This rage engulfed his mind and almost drove him mad. Arg! I will kill you! I will kill you, roared Yensen. His eyes became bloodshot. As a person blessed with talent, he could not withstand this humiliation. He immediately began to thrust the trident wildly at Nubis. Nubis causally dodged the attacks and sniggered, "You're dreaming if you want to kill me with your puny strength." As he said that, Nubis threw a fist at Jensen's chest, knocking him flying as he vomited blood. His chest caved in and quite a few ribs broke. Jensen stabilized himself very quickly and swallowed a recovery pill from his space ring. Afterward, he roared at the other 3 people nearby, "All of you get him together. The dignity of the Serpent God Hall cannot be tainted." The 3 other emissaries hesitated slightly, before finally all pulling out their own weapons and beginning their fight with Nubis. The 3 of them were not weak, 2 of them were of the 8th heavenly layer, while the burly, cold-faced emissary was of the 9th. He possessed an equal level of cultivation to Nubis. Meanwhile, Jian Chen battled the 4 experts from the Menghuang tribe several kilometers away. The intensity of the battle attracted the attention of all the tribesmen below. Each and every one of them was observing with interest. Such a high-level battle between experts was extremely rare for these weak tribesmen. They gained quite a lot out of it as they watched from below. 3 of the 4 experts had not fully recovered from their injuries. Only the former patriarch possessed his peak strength, so even though they fought Jian Chen with numbers, they still failed to match him evenly. As soon as the battle began, they fell into a disadvantaged position where they were suppressed. Ding! With the ruler armament, Jian Chen possessed the strength of a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler in battle. He flicked the former patriarch's spear away with his sword, before jolting his arm. He stabbed out 3 times instantaneously, each strike with unbelievable speed. He seemed to have cut through time, breaking through the restrictions of space and stabbing 3 of them mercilessly through the chest before they could even react. Fresh blood unceasingly from their wounds. When the sword had impaled them, it left behind a small residue of chaotic force which wreaked havoc in their bodies. Arg! The 3 experts all cried out in pain. Chaotic force rampaged in them, bringing on an unendurable agony. They immediately lost the ability to battle and all fell to the ground before crossing their legs. They circulated all the energy within them to obliterate the strand of chaotic force. Although there was very little of it, the chaotic force was undoubtedly powerful. All they could do was forcefully suppress the chaotic force from tearing through their bodies with their full strength below the 5th heavenly layer. They were unable to purge it immediately. An ear-piercing boom appeared from behind. The former patriarch formed walls of blurs as he wielded his spear which surrounded Jian Chen. The sharp tip stabbed toward Jian Chen with powerful ripples of energy in an attempt to harm him. The corner of Jian Chen's mouth curled up into a scornful smile. His sword was famed for its speed, yet the former patriarch wanted to compete with him in this aspect. This undoubtedly was dooming himself. This was because once speed reached a certain level, the body and arms would also have to withstand a great pressure. Without a powerful body as a support, it could not be increased any further. Jian Chen's powerful body guaranteed him to be the victor in speed. Jian Chen's right arm jolted abruptly. His sword stabbed out with an unbelievable speed as his arm drove it and stabbed out thousands of times in just a short moment. The flashes of the sword packed together densely, layering on top of one another and blotting out the sky. It completely filled up the space before him. Ding! 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 The flashes of swords and spears constantly collided mid-air and produced a series of screeches which completely fused together. Every time they collided, a powerful force would burst out and cause the surrounding space to tremble. Meanwhile, the ground below was also struck by the residue energy, splitting and forming spiderweb cracks. In just a few seconds, the sky full of sword and spear flashes disappeared, revealing Jian Chen and the former patriarch. Chapter 879, Daylight Robbery. Jian Chen stood with his sword in hand. He did not borrow any types of energy to float in the sky, while the wild wind whistled. His clothes flapped freely in the wind as his hair swayed. He stood like an undefeatable war god. After the intense battle, Jian Chen's clothes remained completely untouched other than the hole caused by the initial ambush. On the other hand, the former patriarch was in a worse condition. He was disheveled, covered in countless vicious sword slashes, and his clothes were dyed red. He seemed to be made of blood, which was terrifying. He breathed heavily as he hung at an altitude of 1,000 meters. The 5-meter-long spear drooped powerlessly to the ground as if he no longer had the power to raise it. In his battle with Jian Chen, he suffered an utter loss with his strength as a saint ruler of the 8th heavenly layer. Other than the initial ambush, he had not even managed to touch the corner of Jian Chen's clothes and had instead fallen into such a horrible condition himself. I thank the warrior for your mercy. May I ask who this warrior is and how this warrior would like to be referred as? The former patriarch growled. His voice was slightly feeble. He knew extremely well that Jian Chen had countless chances to kill him before. This was because his attacks were completely suppressed by Jian Chen. The way Jian Chen struck out with the sword was just too fast, reaching an unbelievable level. I belong to no organization. I am Yang Yutian. Jian Chen replied calmly. Whatever. Since the Dare tribe has such a powerful warrior supporting them, we, the Menghuang tribe, will be retreating. According to the rules of our realm, my Menghuang tribe cannot touch the Dare tribe again in the next 100 years, the former patriarch said dejectedly. Even though he was unwilling to give up on this attack, he could do nothing. His tribe possessed Yansen, an emissary of the Serpent God Hall, but the 3 halls never interfered with battles over territory. Yansen could only bring honor to the Menghuang tribe and elevate their status. They could not use his connection with the Serpent God Hall to strengthen the tribe. Jian Chen's battle had come to a conclusion, but Nubi's had yet to come to an end. 3 8th heavenly layer saint rulers and 1 9th heavenly layer emissary engaged in an intense battle with Nubis. Every time they clashed, great booms would ring out while the violent residue energy churned the surroundings. It caused the space to tremble and the ground to crack. You 4 kiddos aren't weak, but too bad your strength in battle is not enough. I can take on 10 of you guys at the same time, said Nubis as he fought. He fought them easily and skillfully even though there were 4 of them. Probably only Saint Kings could pressure Nubis nowadays. I won't be messing with you all any longer, in case someone tells me off for wasting time again, Nubis said with a laugh. His attack suddenly became vicious, dodging their attacks and plunging his 2 hands into the chests of 2 of the emissaries. He impaled them before he threw a kick at Jensen's head with lightning speed. It jolted up his origin soul and knocked him out immediately. In the blink of an eye, 3 of the 4 emissaries had lost their abilities for battle. The last person was of the 9th heavenly layer and named Dehei. He could not help but react greatly, but he did not choose to retreat. Instead, he wielded his trident as he stabbed it toward Nubis with all his might. Nubis stuck out a finger and a golden thread shot from the tip of it. It bound the trident tightly. Nubis then planted a vicious kick onto Dehei's chest as he took advantage of the situation. Nubis had basically put all his strength into that kick. It sent Dehei flying off into the distance as he vomited blood, while the bones near the area his foot had landed turned to smithereens. His organs were also greatly wounded and had started to crack. It caused him to bleed from his 7 orifices. All 4 emissaries were knocked to the ground by Nubis. 1 had fainted directly, while the 3 others were heavily injured and pale-faced. Nubis descended from the sky and smiled at the 3 emissaries. He mocked them and said, "How is it, you superior emissaries? How's the feeling of being beat up? It must be very novel. Tell me, just who's punishing who? You dare to injure the emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. It doesn't matter who you are, you don't have much time to live, the Hall elders will definitely avenge us. They'll definitely wipe out your soul. The Hall will not accept any offense against emissaries." The 2 people who sucked up to Jensen earlier glared at Nubis and they ground their teeth. Rage burned in their eyes. As emissaries of the serpent god Hall, they each had a superiority complex. They believed that they were greater than other people. They could not accept anyone treating them like this, as to them it was a great humiliation. Nubis was angered. A cold light flickered in his eyes, while stern killing intent appeared on his face. He sneered, "Heh, quite brave to say that I'll have my soul wiped out. Since that's the case, why don't I let you experience it first?" What arrogance! "I doubt you have the courage to kill an emissary of the Hall," said one of them with a snicker at his threat. "Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant your wish." Killing intent swelled in Nubis' eyes. 5 fine golden threads suddenly shot from his fingertips, turning into 5 streaks of golden light as they shot for the center of their eyebrows. He intended to wipe out their souls. The surrounding space froze abruptly at the same time under Nubis' control. He tightly locked the 3 of them in place, preventing any of them from escaping. All they could do was watch as their deaths drew near. The expression of the emissary who had provoked Nubis earlier finally changed as he sensed Nubis' killing intent. A shred of fear permeated his heart. He had never thought that there would be someone foolish enough to kill an emissary in the territory of the serpent god Hall. In that moment, their minds all fell into disarray. They were superior emissaries who possessed highly regarded statuses with bright future. Reaching the 15th star was only an issue of time for them. None of them wanted to die right now. "Nubis, stop!" A yell appeared from far away at this moment. It was Jian Chen who quickly drew near. The golden threads stopped an inch away from the emissaries' foreheads. Nubis glanced toward Jian Chen. He hesitated slightly before he pulling his hand back and releasing the golden threads. Jian Chen arrived beside Nubis. "Nubis, just spare their lives." "All right. Since you're speaking for them, I'll just spare their lives this time. But we need to take their space rings," said Nubis. Jian Chen did not reject this idea. Ever since they had come to the Sea Realm, what they lacked the most was money. The 4 emissaries probably possessed quite a lot of it in their space rings, and collecting some could never be a bad thing. If they ever came across something important that they required, at least they would not have to worry about money. When they heard how Nubis wanted to take their space rings, the 3 of them reacted immediately. One of them cried out, "No, you can't take our space rings." Nubis' face darkened as he spoke, "Your space rings or your life. Choose one. If you want to live, then leave behind your space rings. Otherwise, I'm not going to be showing any mercy." The 3 of them dwelled on this matter for quite some time, before finally coming to an agreement. They unwillingly took off their space rings and handed them over to Nubis. Afterward, Nubis arrived before the fainted Yensen and also took his ring. The expressions of the 3 conscious emissaries immediately became extremely ugly as they watched Yensen's space ring get taken. They all gritted their teeth without saying anything. "All right, you can leave." Nubis waved his hand and dismissed the 3 of them impatiently. The 3 emissaries endured their injuries as they stood up, leaving with dirty appearances and Yensen on their backs. Nubis played around with the 4 space rings and said, "They should have quite a lot of crystal coins in there as emissaries. Let's go first. We've helped the Dare tribe deal with the Menghuang tribe, so it's about time we left," said Jian Chen. Afterward, they returned to the Dare tribe once again. When they returned, they witnessed the Dare tribe patriarch and the Menghuang tribe patriarch signing something similar to a blood contract. The contract was a rule for determining the victor in the conflicts between organizations. "You 4 hand over the space rings on you," Nubis said arrogantly to the 4 of them. The 4 experts all reacted with frowns as they heard these words. The former patriarch controlled himself and said, "According to the rules, we only need to pay up some crystal coins. Taking the space rings is something that breaks the rules. We can't do that." "Shut the fuck up, what bullshit rules," "Hurry up and cough up the space rings," growled Nubis. He was actually using the situation to rob people. The expressions of the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe changed. However, due to Nubis and Jian Chen's strength, they felt extremely intimidated. As a result, they said nothing and obediently took off their space rings, handing them over to Nubis. Chapter 880, A Mysterious Key. The 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe were forced to give their space rings to Nubis and then left with their injuries. Jian Chen did not take their lives and removed the sliver of chaotic force in the 3 of them. Even if you ignored the fact that he really did not have any hatred for them, the Menghuang tribe also had a person who was a part of the Serpent God Hall. Killing these 3 would probably cause some problems. Jian Chen had only come to the Sea Realm to seek refuge and gain some more time to power up. He naturally did not wish for something like that to happen. Patriarch, since the matters regarding the Menghuang tribe has been resolved, we have completed our mission. We shall bid you farewell. Jian Chen said it plainly with clasped hands to the Dare tribe patriarch after the departure of the group from the Menghuang tribe. Warriors, you must be exhausted from the battle before. Why don't you rest for a few days with my tribe, so that we can properly thank you for your deeds, urged the patriarch. Jian Chen shook his head. I thank the patriarch for his goodwill, but we really have important things that we need to go deal with. We cannot delay any longer. Jian Chen and Nubis left immediately after declining the patriarch. They had come to the Sea Realm to increase their strength and not to play. They could not waste too much time on these miscellaneous matters. The patriarch secretly sighed inside as he watched Jian Chen and Nubis leave. He mumbled, just how great would it have been if those 2 powerful warriors could stay with our tribe forever? It's a pity my puny tribe can't take them in. The Grand Elder of the tribe walked over to the patriarch's side. Patriarch, the 2 warriors have injured the 4 emissaries from the Serpent God Hall. Do you think the Hall will take this as offense? The Grand Elder was worried. The patriarch shook his head. Battles between emissaries and tribes itself is already breaking the rules of the Hall. It'll be very fortunate for them if they avoid punishment once they get back. Why would the Hall punish us over such small matters? The tribes like the citizens of the Hall. The Hall does not take part in arguments and disagreements between citizens unless it gets out of hand. They don't just take sides so casually. Nubis and Jian Chen traveled at an altitude of 1,000 meters. Nubis constantly sniggered as he played around with the 8 space rings. He was guessing just how many crystal coins there were in there. Along the way, the 2 of them encountered many groups of saint rulers and even saint kings who were looking around. They were searching for the traces of the Octaterra map fragment. They would stop human saint rulers and class 7 magical beasts whenever they came across any and would question them. Some saint kings even chose to take a more brutal method, directly taking and looking through their space rings. Jian Chen and Nubis had been stopped many times as well, but since their presences were the sea races, very few people came forward to look for trouble on purpose. However, they did come across a few unreasonable groups of saint rulers who wanted to search through their space rings forcefully, and this almost led to battle. Jian Chen and Nubis were on the move for an entire day before they finally stopped when they arrived at a desolate mountain range. They carved out a cave in the depths of the range and settled down temporarily. They wanted to spend the next period of time cultivating. Jian Chen did not rush over the matter of searching for the Octaterra map. There were experts everywhere in search of the map fragment right now, so if these experts found out they were the ones in possession of the fragment, the pair would be hunted down by everyone. At that time, keeping it would become extremely difficult. Jian Chen lodged a luminous pearl into the roof of the cave and the darkness was illuminated slightly. On the other hand, Nubis squatted down on the side and began to look through the 8 space rings. Nubis really gained quite the harvest this time. There were great quantities of crystal coins, a total of over 30 million, as well as some miscellaneous items in the rings. The amount astonished the 2 of them. There were also some cultivation methods, insight on cultivation, as well as 2 heaven-tier battle skills. However, they were only useful for Heaven Saint Masters and meant nothing to the 2 of them, so newbies casually threw them to one side. At this very moment, an extremely obscure energy began to radiate from the large pile of objects. It drew in Newbie's curiosity, so he poured out the pile from the space ring before he started to rummage through it. An ordinary metal square box around 30 centimeters long and wide was soon pulled out. Newbies examined it curiously and said, "The thing inside must be very valuable." He then proceeded to open it slowly. The metal box was made of a very special material. Obviously, it could isolate and block out the ripples of energy inside. It was extremely difficult to discover any energy radiations when it was closed, but as soon as it was opened, it would begin to pervade the surroundings. The energy was powerful and vast, like an emperor of the world. With its appearance, the water-attributed energy in the radius of several dozen kilometers quietened down as if they were scared. It was also like they had met their ruler and they all fell to the ground in subservience. That's too obvious. It'll attract the attention of other experts. Hurry up and enter the saint artifact, Jian Chen growled. Before he could take a closer look at the object in the box, a streak of golden light shot out from between his eyebrows and turned into a golden tower. Afterward, it sucked the 2 of them into the artifact space with the metal box. A woman silently appeared in the empty cave after they had been sucked away. She was elegant and her face was concealed by a veil. If Jian Chen and newbies saw her, they would definitely recognize her as that mysterious woman who gave them the water spirit's pearls. The light in the woman's eyes flickered as they became icy. She murmured, "Never would I think that some emperors charged into the sea of despair and obtained a piece of abyssal crystal, then forged it into a key. Did you really think you could find me with that key?" Jian Chen and newbies suddenly appeared in the central hall of the artifact space. A cool aura immediately began to expand from all directions with them as the center. It filled the surrounding region with dense water-attributed energy. "Master, what's that?" The artifact spirit appeared silently beside Jian Chen. The light in his eyes flickered with suspicion as he stared at the object in the metal box curiously. Jian Chen and newbies stared fixedly at the item in the box. Currently, the box had been completely encased in a ball of water-blue light. They could vaguely see a palm-sized key lying inside. All the bright light originated from the key. Jian Chen carefully lifted the key from the box to examine it. The blue light illuminated their faces, dyeing the 2 of them blue. They seemed rather demonic. "It's actually a key." "Is this the key to some treasure?" said newbies as a guess. Jian Chen pondered about the key before returning it to the box. He slowly closed the lid and growled, "This key must open something important. It can't be for something insignificant. I just wonder whether the item belongs to the emissary himself or the Serpent God Hall. If it was only his, then that would be easy, though it would be problematic if it was the Hall's. Jian Chen, looks like we need to find another place that's even further away before we go into secluded cultivation. Just in case the people of the Serpent God Hall come looking for us." Newbie suggested. Jian Chen nodded. "Artifact spirit, I'll leave the box here with you for now. Take care of it for me." "Yes, master." The artifact spirit replied hurriedly. Jian Chen left the artifact space with newbies afterward. They returned to the cave. They no longer wanted to stick around the area, they quickly shoved the pile back into the space ring and left immediately. They flew away. At the same time, the 4 emissaries, including Yensen, returned to the Serpent God Hall in a horrible shape. They narrated what they had experienced on the way to a hall elder. The hall elder was a burly man in sleeveless clothes. His face was vicious and radiated with a brutal aura. The emissaries all trembled before him as they experienced a fear from the very depths of their souls. This was equivalent to the pressure of a bloodline, a phenomenon when the weak faced the strong. What? You actually lost it. The hall elder fell into a rage when he heard that the four of them had lost their space rings. His eyes quickly narrowed into a glare. They became like two swords that could make space tremble, stabbed the void. All four emissaries knelt on the ground as they trembled. They were terrified. You four pieces of trash. The reason why we got the four of you to bring it back was to deceive others. Haven't those pathetic elders told you just how important that item is to the Serpent God Hall before you left? Not only did you go to provoke others when carrying something so important, you even lost it in the end. Do I have any reason to keep you all around? The middle-aged man broke into a howl. He directly threw a punch toward the four of them as he reached the end of these words. "Charlie, calm down," boomed an old voice. Immediately, a blue screen of light appeared and encased the four emissaries. As the man's fist collided with the blue screen, it began to tremble violently before it shattered in the end. The remaining force landed mercilessly on the four emissaries, causing them to all vomit blood. They shot back like cannonballs and struck the wall behind them viciously. An old man walked in unhurriedly with a cane. The burly man stared coldly at him and growled, "Look at the good disciple you took in. He has actually lost something so important. You should know just how important that item is to the Hall Master. Neither of us can bear the wrath of the Hall Master." The old man replied calmly, "Charlie, the item has already been lost. Even if you kill the four of them, it won't be of any help. Our top priority is to get it back before the Hall Master comes out of seclusion. We need to fix our mistakes." Chapter 881, Xia Wang's submission. Charlie was calmed down by the old man before turning to the four emissaries. "Tell me what happened in detail again." "Esteemed Hall Elder, this was what happened. When we were hurrying back to the hall with the item, we came across Jensen's tribe, so we stopped for a while. His tribe just happened to be facing a threat where 3 of their experts had been injured. As a result, Jensen led our group of us to go settle it. The 4 of us were defeated by an extremely powerful person at the other tribe and also had our space rings taken. Yeah, not only did they take our space rings, they wanted to kill us. They have no respect for the Serpent God Hall. They look down on us." The 2 emissaries that had curried up to Jensen each added something. They were furious as if the dignity of the hall was more important than anything else. The old man looked toward the silent Dehe and asked, "Dehe, is that true?" He nodded. "They have indeed told the truth, esteemed Hall Elder." "Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and send people to catch them. We need to get the item back," Charlie ordered immediately. The old man nodded slightly. "The existence of that item cannot be leaked. Once the Sea Goddess Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall learn about it, things will become problematic, so send people who won't draw a lot of attention this time. We can't send too many and they can't be too strong." "Dehe, how strong were the people who took your space rings?" Dehe thought about it and replied, "Esteemed Hall Elder, they should be at the peak of the 14th star according to my battle with them. However, they're extremely powerful, equal to some 15th star Sea Soul warriors. If that's the case, we'll send 2 15th star elders, as well as the 4 of you since you can recognize them," said the old man. "Yes, esteemed Hall Elder," replied the 4 emissaries in unison. "Remember, this is your only chance to redeem yourselves. If you can bring it back, then all will be fine. Should you fail, the wrath of the Hall Master will be waiting for you," growled Charlie with a pale face. Charlie's stern words caused the 4 emissaries to tremble. Dread and uneasiness skyrocketed in their hearts, reaching their heads. They could not help but tremble. Right now, they were full of regret. If they had known something like this would have happened, why would they commit this mistake? Quickly, the 4 of them left the hall with 2 15th star elders and headed directly for the Dare tribe. As the group of people moved out, Jian Chen and Nubis were also traveling away. Jian Chen held a map in his hand as he looked around to confirm their location while traveling. He wanted to make sure that they were not lost. They only stopped after several tens of thousand kilometers. They had come across a desolate, ancient forest. Jian Chen looked around and murmured, "We should be around 70 or 80,000 kilometers from the Dare tribe now. It should be safe. Let's stay here for now. We can return to the Tianyuan continent after we become strong enough," said Nubis. The two of them descended, carving out another temporary cave dwelling. As they did that, the four emissaries arrived at the Dare tribe with two unimpressive old men. They called out as they floated in the sky, "Where is the patriarch of the tribe? Come out." The patriarch immediately left the main hall when he heard the voice. His face immediately twitched when he noticed the four emissaries, before directing his attention to the two ordinary-looking old men behind them. His heart sank as he felt an ill omen. "I am the patriarch. Is there anything I can help the emissaries with?" The patriarch replied with clasped hands. He was extremely polite. "Where did the two of them go? Call them out." Yensen glared at the patriarch as he yelled this out. He was now much more confident with two 15th star experts supporting him. "Esteemed emissaries, the two warriors have already left quite some time ago. They're not in our tribe anymore," the patriarch replied meekly. "What? They've left?" The four emissaries immediately became ugly. In which direction did they go off? Where did they go? This time, the speaker was one of the old men. The patriarch extended his hand in the direction Jian Chen and Nubis had flown off. The two warriors went that way. As for where they went off to, I have no idea. Many tribesmen had witnessed the direction Jian Chen and Nubis had flown off to. As a result, the patriarch could only tell the truth. He could not afford to play around with the people of the hall. "Pursue them." The four emissaries and two old men immediately left in the direction the patriarch had provided without any hesitation. Jian Chen and Nubis had already entered secluded cultivation in the depths of the forest. They were working hard on increasing their strength. 100 kilometers away from them, a white-robed, malicious-looking young man carefully made his way through the vegetation. He quickly approached Jian Chen and Nubis' dwelling with his presence erased. "I need to obtain the divine water. You can't escape me no matter where you run off to." The man's determination was unrelenting. He was the expert who had fought with Jian Chen in the auction, Xia Wang. Xia Wang had found Jian Chen's location through an unknown method. He erased his presence and approached the cave quickly and silently, passing through the barrier successfully using a special technique that did not alert the barrier owner. He entered the cave where Jian Chen cultivated. Jian Chen currently sat on the ground with his eyes closed and legs crossed. He was in a state of deep concentration and did not notice that someone had invaded their dwelling at all. Xia Wang's heart had already stopped beating. His body was cold too, the same temperature as the surroundings. He seemed to have melded perfectly with the surroundings. Xia Wang stared calmly at Jian Chen at the entrance of the cave. He thought, "You're the weakest, so handling you should be easier. Once I wound you, I'll use you to threaten the other person to hand over the divine water." He proceeded with his thoughts, gently approaching Jian Chen. He then struck out with lightning speed and directly went for Jian Chen's heart. Xia Wang's hand passed through Jian Chen's chest without much difficulty, but his heart sank, an afterimage. Xia Wang's reactions were extremely fast. He turned around suddenly, only to see Jian Chen standing there unharmed and looking back at him scornfully. "Xia Wang, did you find last time not enough and have come back for some more?" A lazy voice sounded from outside. Nubis, who had stayed in another cave, walked in with his arms crossed, standing beside Jian Chen. Xia Wang's face scrunched up into a scowl. He cried out, "Impossible. I used my innate ability to enter here silently. How did you discover me? You tailed us the whole way, maintaining a distance of 1,000 kilometers. You were discovered long ago. Though, I need to say that your innate talent is extremely powerful. You could actually pass through the barrier cast down by us. You probably really would have succeeded if it was someone else. Too bad it was us, smiled Jian Chen. That's my misfortune, then. Xiaofan gritted his teeth before directly he shot upward. He burst through the rock in an attempt to escape. Leaving's not so easy. Nubi's mouth curled into a sneer. He too burst through the rock like Xiaofan, blocking Xiaofang's path. Xiaofan glared coldly at Nubi's and growled, I may not be able to beat you in battle, but you can't stop me from leaving. Really now? Nubi stared at Xiaofan scornfully and said, Do you think you're the only one with innate abilities and that I don't have any? Xiaofang's expression immediately changed. He did not know how to reply. Jian Chen also flew up and said, Xiaofan, you put so much effort into tailing us over tens of thousand kilometers. Do you really just want to leave like this? Don't you want your divine water anymore? Xiaofan snorted coldly. He said nothing as he thought of a way to escape. You only move alone. You want the divine water to break through to the 15th star. How about this? You follow us in the future and I'll take responsibility for your breakthrough, smiled Jian Chen. A surprised light flashed across Xiaofang's eyes. He stared back fixedly. With the divine water as remuneration? Correct. Jian Chen replied. You're willing to give me the divine water in your possession? No. I won't be giving you the divine water. However, I can guarantee that I will obtain more divine water in 50 years' time at most. There will definitely be your share, swore Jian Chen. The divine water only appears once in 1,000 years. It's impossible for more to appear in the next 50 years, while the divine realm where it comes from is riddled with dangers. It's almost certain death if you venture into it, growled Xiaofan. That's not your problem. You only need to know that you will be obtaining divine water within 50 years, said Jian Chen. Why should I trust you? You can only trust me because that's your only chance of obtaining it. Xiaofan became silent. The light in his eyes was uneasy as if he was stuck in a great dilemma. He did not have long left. If he did not break through, he had a little over 100 years of life at most. All right, I agree. I will follow you from now onward, but you need to give me the divine water within 50 years. Xiaofan agreed in the end after much deliberation. He did not have much choice at all. Chapter 882, Attack of Experts. However, what do you want me to do since I'm now following you? Xiaofan asked. We'll decide this later. We want to go into seclusion for a period of time, so go settle down somewhere 10 kilometers away. Prevent anyone from approaching us. Guard us, said Jian Chen. Xiaofan nodded. All right, I'll do that. I do hope you won't go back on your words. You have to give me the divine water within 50 years. Xiaofan turned around and left, carving out his own cave to settle down in. Jian Chen, why are you getting him to follow us? He is quite strong, but he's of no great help to us. And can you really obtain more divine water within 50 years? Nubis asked in doubt after Xiaofan had left. He felt extremely confused with what Jian Chen had just done. Jian Chen raised his head slightly and zoned out as he stared the deep blue sky. We have a piece of the Octaterra map, so we should have the right to enter the Octaterra Divine Hall. From those experts who fought over the fragment, I've heard that only those below Saint Kings can enter. Xiaofan's of the 9th heavenly layer and he's not weak. There shouldn't be a lot of people who are his opponents at the same level. When we enter the Divine Hall, he should be of great help to us. What? Only those below Saint King can enter the Divine Hall? Doesn't that mean we can't break through? Nubis was surprised. Right. Before we enter, we cannot break through. This is why you must limit your growth this time when you go into seclusion. Fuck it. Since I can't break through, then I won't break through. Though I still can take in some of the hidden essence from that old snake. It'll take me to a level where I'm only an inch away from breaking through. It'll also make breaking through successfully much easier in the future. Alright then, I'll be cultivating. Nubis left the cave. Soon afterward, Jianchen also returned to his secluded cultivation. He began to refine the monster cores in the Saint artifact with the help of the sword spirits. Right now, the chaotic Niden was only the size of a pigeon's egg. He still had a long road ahead of him before he reached the third layer of the chaotic body. He needed to reach the peak of the second layer as soon as possible. Master, you should be able to absorb the energy of the Yinyang Saint Rock once you reach the fifth layer, said Ziying. His voice carried a sliver of urgency. Ziying, what layer of the chaotic body will I reach after absorbing the energy? Jianchen asked out of curiosity. Master's chaotic body should be able to reach the 7th or 8th layer, or even the 9th, after Master absorbs all the energy of the rock, Ziying replied after some thought. He was not exactly sure. Jianchen's heart began to beat uncontrollably after he heard that. A sense of urgency ignited in his heart, tempting him to try and reach the 9th layer at this very moment. Just what level of strength will I have after I absorb all the energy? Will it be Saint Emperor? Or beyond that? If I gain the power that surpasses Saint Emperors, I'll definitely copy Mo Tianyun and charge into the Forsaken Saint world. I'll cause an upheaval there and form rivers of blood from my slaughter. I'll make it so that they will never have the ability to threaten the Tianyuan continent ever again. Jianchen thought as he clenched his fists. A few days later, a furious cry resounded from a grand divine hall that hung 100 meters in the air, several tens of thousands of kilometers away from where Jianchen was. You trash, you pieces of trash. You're literally incompetent trash. You couldn't find them even when there were the two of you. Charlie howled angrily. The 4 emissaries trembled as they knelt in front of Charlie. Their faces were filled with horror. They had spent so many days outside, yet they had still failed to find Jianchen and Nubis. All they could do was return to the hall and report this to the hall elder. Just wait for your death once the hall master comes out of seclusion if you can't get it back. You pieces of trash, just how the fuck did you screw up such an easy mission? Charlie paced around the hall furiously. He was extremely worried. Charlie, that thing has its own, unique presence, and it was also forged by an emperor 30,000 years ago. It contains a sliver of the emperor's power. That power should be the same as the power of the divine hall. So why don't we cast the water mirror technique together and see if we can find its whereabouts through borrowing a sliver of the hall's power? Jensen's master said. Alright. That's all we can do now. I hope the hall master doesn't become angered when we use a sliver of the hall's power. Charlie nodded before turning to the 4 emissaries. Why don't the 4 of you hurry up and piss off? The 4 of them hurriedly climbed up off the ground and left the hall. Around 15 minutes later, the 2 hall elders walked out as well. Both of them seemed slightly weary, while Jensen's master held a piece of paper. We found their whereabouts. Their positions are marked on the map. Immediately go with the 2 15th star elders to get the item back and redeem yourselves. Master, we'll definitely bring it back this time, swore Jensen as he took the map. Afterward, the 4 of them left together. Charlie said with a deep voice as he gazed into the direction they had disappeared off to, I hope they succeed this time. Sigh, that item's just too special. We can't let any part of it leak out or attract the attention of the other 2 halls. That's why we can't send too many people, or I would have moved out personally long ago, said Jensen's master with a sigh. Several days later, Xiaofan lied in boredom as he stared blankly at the ceiling of the dark cave. He was carrying out his tasks silently, guarding Jianchen and Nubis. He prevented any disruptions to their cultivation. Can he really get me the divine water within 50 years? Xiaofan cradled his head as he murmured on the icy cold ground. He had already repeated similar words countless times that day. To think that I, Xiaofan, someone who was also renowned among the people, someone who moves alone and does what he wants, would have such a day where I fall to such a level. I've become someone else's pawn. Whatever. This is my only hope of reaching the 15th star. If there isn't even the slightest hope, I won't have any chance at all. I'll trust them for now. Just some temporary grievances are nothing, murmured Xiaofan. He really struggled to yield and work below others with his personality. All he could do was constantly comfort himself and his unhappiness. Xiaofan's eyes narrowed at this moment. Crap, someone's come. He disappeared with a flash, having already left the cave. He appeared once again floating 1,000 meters in the sky this time. Far away, 6 figures shot toward them with lightning speed. In the end, they stopped 100 meters from Zhuang, staring at him with narrowed eyes. You're emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. Xiaofan's expression changed slightly when he noticed their clothes. Yansen looked at Xiaofan but did not pay any further attention to him. He looked around and said, they should be here according to Master's map, but it's not this person. The 2 old men who followed the emissaries looked in the same direction in unison. One of them said, there are 2 people in secluded cultivation right now. I wonder if it's them. Well, that's not a problem. Just get them to appear this instant and we'll know whether they're who we were searching for, said the other old man. Afterward, he grabbed at the empty space and the energy in the surroundings quickly began to condense. In the end, it formed a huge palm 100 meter wide that fell on the mountain on where Jian Chen and Nubis cultivated. Boom! The mountain collapsed loudly. The palm strike sent countless pieces of loose rock flying everywhere, while the barrier cast down by Nubis was obliterated like tofu. It could not withstand it. A 15th star Sea Soul warrior. Xiaofan immediately revealed an ugly expression when he saw this. The light in his eyes flickered uneasily. Who dares destroy my dwelling? Are you looking to die? A furious roar resounded from the collapsed mountain. Nubis flew out furiously from the rubble, while a cold light glimmered in his eyes. He radiated with great killing intent. The 4 emissaries' eyes lit up when they heard this extremely familiar and arrogant voice. They pointed at Nubis. It's him, it's him. Elders, he was the one who took the item. A sliver of joy flashed past the old men's eyes when they heard this. They thought, he really isn't at the 15th star. Looks like the Hall Elders' mission will be a piece of cake this time. Boom! Loose rubble flew in all directions and Jian Chen also shot out of the rocks with the dragon-slaying sword in hand. He shot toward Jensen's group with Nubis with a darkened complexion. He faced the people from the hall. They were separated by a distance of several hundred meters. Nubis' eyes narrowed as he examined these people. In the end, he locked onto the 2 old men and he could not help but become slightly stern. He said heavily, I didn't think 2 15th star experts would come as well. Jian Chen's face could not help but twitch when he heard that 2 Saint Kings had actually come. He could only deal with 9th heavenly layer Saint rulers with his current strength. He was not the opponent of Saint Kings. Yansen could not help but laugh aloud as he saw Jian Chen and Nubis' stern expressions. Haha, don't you regret it now? This is the outcome of offending the emissaries of the hall. Too bad it's all too late now. There's no use regretting it now. Just obediently accept your deaths. Chapter 883, Fighting Saint Kings. Yansen could not help but laugh aloud as he saw Jian Chen and Nubis' stern expressions. Haha, don't you regret it now? This is the outcome of offending the emissaries of the hall. Too bad it's all too late now. There's no use regretting it now. Just obediently accept your deaths. Nubis taunted them and said, "Did you think you could deal with us just by calling 2 15th star experts?" As he said that, a humongous presence began to radiate from Nubis. It enveloped tens of thousands of mountains. The presence had vaguely surpassed the 9th heavenly layer, reaching an even higher level. There seemed to be a pressure in the presence. Nubis' battle intent was greatly roused. He felt no fear, as if the 2 saint kings before him could be defeated. Xiaofan's heart shivered when he felt Nubis' presence. He thought, no wonder he's so powerful. He's only an inch away from the 15th star, he can easily become a renowned expert within the sea realm. The faces of the 4 emissaries twitched slightly. They naturally felt that even though Nubis was not a 15th star expert, he was not far from it. His strength was beyond what they could handle. However, they relaxed immediately when they saw the 2 old men beside them. They were elders of the Serpent God Hall. They were real 15th star experts, unlike Nubis. As long as they were present, the 3 people before them could not really do anything at all. Your strength has reached the very limit of the 14th star, only an inch away from the 15th, impressive, quite impressive. I believe reaching the 15th star is no problem for you as long as you have some time. The 2 of us are elders of the Serpent God Hall. I wonder if you have any interest in joining us. If you are indeed willing, I'll report it to the Hall elders as soon as I return. I believe the Hall elders would love the 2 of you to join, said a smiling elder who stood beside Yensen. He was called Sid, and since he came from the Serpent God Hall, he knew many more secret techniques than other saint kings. He could vaguely feel an extremely pure ruler's chi from Jianchen and Nubis through a secret technique and presumed that they must have been the rulers of some clan. They possessed extremely great talent and had the chance of reaching the very peak of the 16th star. Experts of such a level would only be an inch away from becoming an emperor, so even the 3 halls needed to draw them to their side. You lot have traveled so far to find us. It shouldn't be about that, right? Jianchen asked normally. The other old man, named Rains, also spoke out, correct. We've traveled so far to come looking for you, and it is indeed not because of that. However, if you are willing to join our Serpent God Hall, we'll be members of the same family in the future. Yensen immediately became worried when Elder Rains and Sid both spoke out, attempting to recruit the 2 of them who he absolutely despised. He said, "Elder, but the 2 of them are, we know what we're doing. You don't need to interfere." Yensen was cut off by Elder Rains before he could finish what he was saying. Elder Rains stared at Jianchen and Nubis fixedly. "You may be disappointed if you had wanted us to join the Serpent God Hall," replied Jianchen. "You don't want to join?" Elder Rains' face darkened. "Correct," replied Jianchen as he stared straight at the elder. He felt no fear. Elder Sid said, "Whatever. Since the 2 of you don't want to join us, we won't force you to. A few days ago, you stole a few space rings from our 4 emissaries. I hope you can return them to us. We will not trouble you if you do so." Although that was what he said, killing intent flickered in the very depths of his eyes. He thought, the Hall Elder has told me that the existence of the item must be kept secret. It must not be known by anyone outside of the Serpent God Hall. Since you don't want to join, we need to eliminate you even if you possess the ruler's chi. We'll return them to you since you need them. Nubis tossed over 4 rings extremely casually. The 2 elders rejoiced secretly when they saw the 2 of them hand over the rings so straightforwardly. They each caught 2 rings and began to look through them. At this very moment, Jianchen and Nubis suddenly moved against the 2 elders as they looked through the rings. It was like they had already planned this beforehand. Nubis' hands became dyed with a golden color. He did not hold back any of his strength, grabbing one of the old man's necks swiftly. Jianchen wielded the dragon-slaying sword, which was now covered by a dark light. It radiated with an energy of destruction as it stabbed toward the other elder. He thrust it out with his full power, reaching the absolute limits of his speed. It was unbelievably fast. The sword seemed to cut through time and jump through space. It arrived before the elder's forehead in an instant. The two elders did not expect Jianchen and Nubis to actually move against them, as they were esteemed elders within the territory of the Serpent God Hall. A large portion of their concentration was focused on the space rings as they looked through them, so the attacks took them completely off guard. Nubis' hands mercilessly grabbed at Elder Sid's throat. The hand ripped through his throat, tearing off a great portion. It revealed a collapsed windpipe and some meridians. The sliver of poison on Nubis' hand quickly wormed its way into the elder's body, and his neck immediately began to give off a putrid odor. Jianchen's sword stabbed into the center of Elder Rain's eyebrows with absolute precision. Just as it was about to reach his origin soul, Elder Rains grabbed the sword tightly with his wrinkled hands. It prevented the sword from advancing. Rains followed up with an explosive roar as he forcefully plucked the sword out from his forehead. To ambush us. You cannot be spared. Elder Rains became furious and gave out a deafening roar. His voice was filled with pain and rage. Although the sword had failed to injure his original soul, as there was still an inch of distance, it had deposited a powerful and odd energy in his head. It currently rampaged in his brain, bringing him great pain. Elder Rains immediately used his powerful origin soul to suppress the sliver of chaotic force in his head. His hand lashed out like a bolt of lightning toward Jianchen's chest. Jianchen used the illusory flash, turning into a blur. He instantly disappeared from Rain's range of sight and appeared once again behind him. He stabbed out 3 times with a blur-like sword. Vast, surging energy poured out of the elder's body, forming a piece of extremely tough armor to block Jianchen's lightning-fast attacks. The sword struck Elder Rain's armor with destructive chaotic force. The first thrust caused it to crack, while the second thrust completely shattered it. The third thrust stabbed through Elder Rains like a hot knife through butter. It pierced through his body, and the tip of the sword appeared on the other end, covered in blood. At the same time, rampaging chaotic force surged through the sword and exploded within the elder's body. Arg! The elder produced a chilling howl. He lost control of his chest as the wild chaotic force had already ripped open a bowl-sized hole there. It obliterated his organs. Jianchen did not pause. He knew that he could not give this elder the time to catch his breath, so his arm jolted violently. The sword stabbed out once again in the form of a black streak of light, directly going for the back of the elder's head. He wanted to gravely wound the elder's origin soul. "I'm going to make you die right here." The elder cried out madly. The surrounding space froze suddenly, trapping Jianchen and his sword as well. Jianchen's heart sank as he thought, "Crap." He did not pause and immediately forced the chaotic force within him to surge out. It shattered the frozen space like glass. However, just as he broke free, a hand snaked toward him and struck him viciously in the chest. Spurt. The defense of the golden silk mail was broken through immediately. Jianchen vomited a mouthful of blood as he flew backward like a meteorite. "I'm going to obliterate you." The elders' faces twisted violently. The blood from his forehead wound dyed his entire face red. Combined with the huge gaping hole in his chest, he seemed like a demon from hell. He was horrifyingly hideous. He fused with the surrounding space and caught up to Jianchen instantly by using spatial force. He mercilessly struck Jianchen with a palm. Jianchen vomited blood a few times. His chaotic body had already been broken through by the elder's attacks. He was now heavily injured. On the other side, Nubis managed to heavily injure Elder Sid by catching him off guard with the surprise attack. He was currently chasing up with more attacks, before he suddenly saw that Jianchen was in a tight spot. He immediately gave up on Elder Sid, going straight for Elder Rains and beginning a grand battle with him. They fought even-handedly in the air. A powerful killing intent appeared nearby. It was Elder Sid, who charged toward Nubis with his bloody throat. Although he was heavily injured, he was still a Saint King. His life force was tenacious, so he still possessed an impressive ability for battle. "I'll block them. You leave immediately." Nubis battled the two Saint Kings all by himself as he yelled at Jian Chen. Although they were both heavily injured, Nubis struggled greatly as he was up against two of them. He used all the power he had in him, only shying from changing back into his true form. Elder Sid and Reigns were only Saint Kings of the first heavenly layer, but as Elders of the Hall, they definitely possessed abilities that stood out. Their strength in battle was much greater than ordinary Saint Kings. Their true strength was close to the second heavenly layer despite their level of cultivation. A light flicked in Jian Chen's eyes. He hesitated slightly, before giving up on the idea of casting God's Descent to kill off the two of them. He immediately began to flee. The price for the forbidden arte was just too great. Even if he managed to kill the two of them, even more powerful elders would come later on. Killing the two of them would not solve the problem at all. The item might be on him. Don't let him escape. The four emissaries who were watching on blankly finally returned to their senses. They all pursued Jian Chen, engaging in a battle with him. Jian Chen had taken a palm strike from a Saint King, so he was heavily injured. Even with the recovery abilities of his chaotic body, he was unable to heal temporarily. He immediately felt slightly pressured as he fought against 3 8th heavenly layer Saint Rulers and a 9th heavenly layer Saint Ruler, unable to break free from them temporarily. After all, Jian Chen did not possess a strength that could rival Saint Kings like Nubis. Chapter 884, Fleeing from the Serpent God Hall. Xia Wang's eyes flickered with hesitation when he saw Jian Chen painstakingly fight the others. They're emissaries and elders of the Serpent God Hall. My God, how did they provoke the people of the hall? What do I do? Just what do I do? Am I supposed to participate or not? Do I help them? Thought Xia Wang. He struggled to make a decision. This lasted for a while. In the end, Xia Wang gritted his teeth and thought, whatever. I only have a little over 100 years left anyway. I'll do it for the divine water, for the chance to successfully reach the 15th star. Xia Wang finally made his mind up with that thought. He immediately charged at the four emissaries and took on two of them for Jian Chen. Xia Wang, how dare you? You have provoked the Serpent God Hall. Are you tired of living? Yelled an emissary. I'm paying a big price by offending the people of the Serpent God Hall. They definitely will be hunting for me everywhere in the future. I can no longer enter the territory of the Serpent God Hall ever again. I'm helping you out, so you better get me the divine water within 50 years. I'll swear to hunt you both down if you don't, Xia Wang said to Jian Chen as he handled the attacks of the two emissaries. Don't worry. I will not go back on my words. I'll definitely give you the divine water within 50 years, replied Jian Chen. The pressure on him had greatly reduced now that Xia Wang took on the attacks of two emissaries for him. He immediately thrust out consecutively with a sword using his full strength. His attack carried a devastating aura. Even though Jian Chen was quite injured, dealing with 2 8th heavenly layer Saint Rulers was not a problem. The sword turned into countless blurs that enveloped the two of them. The blurs stacked upon one another, completely flooding the space. The two emissaries became stern. They moved their hands and weapons in a flurry, devoting all their efforts to blocking Jian Chen's attacks. The sounds of weapons colliding constantly rang out. Jian Chen's sword clashed ferociously with the emissaries' weapons mid-air and constantly produced a sound of screeching steel. It was deafening. Jian Chen's sword was just too fast. The power of a ruler armament was also extremely great, so every strike contained huge amounts of power. The two emissaries became covered in wounds after just a few seconds of resistance. One of them had their heart pierced, while the other had lost his left arm to Jian Chen's sword. They both produced a chilling howl, now incapacitated by their wounds. Fending off the two emissaries, Jian Chen immediately proceeded to assist Xia Wang. He worked with him to heavily injure the last two emissaries. He then left the area hurriedly as he pulled Xia Wang along. They disappeared very quickly. Nubis was also injured and he was now covered in blood. However, not only did this fail to lower his strength, it agitated the savage nature of his bloodline. He became more brutal as he fought, keeping the two Saint Kings busy all by himself. He even poisoned the two of them with his venom, forcing them to devote a portion of their strength to suppress it. This greatly decreased the amount of strength they could use. Elders, my ass. Is this all your strength? When I break through, I'll be able to kill you off with a flip of my hand. I'm not going to play around with you two anymore. Nubis opened his mouth and spat out a poisonous mist which engulfed the two Saint Kings. He quickly left the area, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. We can't let them escape. Let's pursue them. Yansen ignored his injuries. He wanted to chase the three of them. Don't chase them. Elder Rains waved his hand and stopped Yansen. He stared coldly in the direction where Nubis had fled and growled, Sid and I are currently poisoned. The venom's extremely potent, so we need to purge it as soon as possible. Otherwise, our lives will be in danger. The items are with them. We can't let them run far, but the antidotes we carry have no effects on the venom. We don't have the time to hurry back to the hall, so let's find a place immediately where we can suppress its spread. We can report this to the hall elders at the same time, Elder Sid said roughly. They would pass away very quickly if they did not suppress the spread of this poison. Within the Serpent God Hall, there were two types of elders, ordinary elders and hall elders. 15th star Sea Soul warriors could take up a role as an elder, but they needed to be at the peak of the 16th star to become a hall elder. Within the three halls, hall elders were only second to the hall master in terms of status and power. Elder Rains and Sid were only ordinary elders of the Serpent God Hall. The six of them were quite heavily injured and the two elders' injuries were particularly heavy. They needed to treat it immediately or they could lose their life. As a result, they did not continue their pursuit of Jian Chen's group and instead settled down somewhere nearby to treat their wounds. They suppressed the venom in their bodies and also reported this matter to the hall elders. The Serpent God Hall learned about this very quickly. Hall Elder Charlie was furious, so he immediately sent out two elders who were even stronger with more powerful antidotes to heal Elder Sid and Rains. At the same time, they were tasked with recovering the lost item. Although they were still in the 15th star, they were third heavenly layer Saint Kings when measured according to the system of the Tian Yuan continent. Jian Chen and Xia Wang fled far away very quickly. Currently, Jian Chen no longer paid any attention to his injuries and poured all his time into traveling. He wanted to avoid the experts of the Serpent God Hall from catching up. Not long afterward, Nubis also arrived from behind. He flew with Jian Chen and Xia Wang. He was pale-faced and in a horrible condition, constantly coughing up blood. He was heavily wounded. Jian Chen pulled out a large handful of Class 6 Radiant Spirit Pulls and handed them to Nubis. Eat these. They might not be able to heal you, but at least it can stabilize your injuries and stop them from worsening. Jian Chen did not want to reveal the secrets of the Saint Artifact as Xia Wang was present. Nubis did not hold back, directly taking all the pills from Jian Chen's hand. He devoured them like candy. I really wonder if following you guys was the wrong choice. I didn't think I'd offend one of the three halls so quickly. The Serpent God Hall has supreme power in its territory. It can call on forces large and small, so we can't stay here any longer. We need to leave, grumbled Xia Wang. Jian Chen immediately pulled out his map and checked it. The Heaven Spirit Hall's territory is the closest to us. We'll head over there immediately. The three of them moved toward the territory of the other hall, finally arriving at its border after 3 whole days. They were less than 10,000 kilometers from crossing over. In the 3 days, Jian Chen had made a full recovery thanks to the high regeneration speed of his chaotic body. Even newbies had made a full recovery through vast amounts of radiant spirit pills, returning to his full strength. Jian Chen ignored any overexertion of his soul in the 3-day journey, and he kept his presence expanded to the maximum. He enveloped a radius of several thousand kilometers, carefully paying attention to the surroundings. They avoided any potential dangers. At that very moment, Jian Chen's expression changed slightly. He growled, "Crap, the experts of the Serpent God Hall have actually caught up. The people this time are even more powerful. We won't be able to put up any resistance. Let's go." "What? They've caught up again? Just how did they find us?" Nubi's expression changed too. Without any hesitation, he grabbed Jian Chen by the arm and charged forward. There was only another 10,000 kilometers before they were out of the Serpent God Hall's territory. Nubis fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to travel. His speed increased by 3 or 4-fold and he disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. Xiaofan was also of the 9th heavenly layer like Nubis, so he tailed closely behind. However, 2 saint kings behind them traveled even faster. Nubis could vaguely feel their vast presences just when they were 3,000 kilometers short from the border. Bloody hell. They're at least of the 3rd heavenly layer. If they catch us, we won't have the chance to escape at all. Nubis' expression changed greatly as he cried out. He immediately sped up some more, flying toward the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall with lightning speed. The distance between the 2 groups constantly reduced as the Saint Kings pursued. Jian Chen's group could clearly see the figures of the 2 experts now. There were less than 50 kilometers between them. You wounded the people of the Serpent God Hall. The Serpent God Hall will pursue you to the ends of the earth. You can't escape. Just give up. A thunderous voice boomed from behind them. It was from the 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall. Just give up? Do you think I'm an idiot? Nubis snarled as he retorted. He did not slow down and instead sped up. Finally, the 2 elders began to worry when the 3 of them were only 50 kilometers from the border. They struck out decisively and shot out a powerful blade chi together. It chopped toward Jian Chen's group with insane speed. This attack completely locked onto them. They could not dodge. "I'll block it," bellowed Jian Chen. Chaotic force surged wildly in his body, boosting his defense to its utmost maximum. Boom! The powerful attack directly struck Jian Chen's chest and turned his clothes into dust. It revealed the golden silk mail he wore inside, while his chest directly collapsed. His bones were utterly broken. If it were not for the silk mail, he probably would have been bisected by this attack. Spurt. Blood gushed wildly from Jian Chen's mouth. His organs had turned to smithereens after blocking the combined attack of the 2 Saint Kings. His injuries were worse than before. As this happened, Nubis and Xiaofan left the territory of the Serpent God Hall as they pulled Jian Chen with them. They crossed into the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, but they did not stop. They continued their way until they finally disappeared into the horizon. The 2 elders stopped at the edge of their territory. They stared unhappily at the 3 of them as they traveled away, however, they unwilling to take a step over the border. The 3 halls of the Sea Realm were extremely territorial. They refused to let any people of other halls enter their land without permission, so the 2 elders did not dare to cross the border rashly. The consequences would be extremely great. Chapter 885, Abyssal Crystal. We were too slow. We actually let them escape into the land of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Do we chase them or not? An elder said with a deep voice as they watched the group gradually grow further away. The other old man replied after some thought, "We can't trespass the Heaven Spirit Hall's lands without permission, we better report this to the Hall Elder as soon as possible. We can only take action after discussing it with the Hall Elders and the people of the Heaven Spirit Hall." The two elders immediately reported the situation to the Hall Elders afterward. Charlie and Jensen's master Bai Yen immediately became stern when they learned that Jian Chen's group had fled into the Heaven Spirit Hall's territory. They frowned in concern. "It'll be troublesome now. I hope that the Heaven Spirit Hall doesn't find out about that item, otherwise, they'll want to take it. At the time, the Hall Master will need to head out himself, but if that happens, the two halls will definitely go to war with each other. The Sea Goddess Hall cannot find out either. If their Hall Master learns about it, she will definitely use the strength of her entire territory to destroy it. They cannot let the item exist," said Charlie. He was extremely grim. "I can only hope that the people who've taken it don't know the secrets of the item and that the people of the Heaven Spirit Hall don't know either. If that's the case, then there is still a chance for us to fix this problem." Jensen's master's eyes flickered with a wise light. He had many more ideas than Charlie. "What idea do you have?" Charlie immediately looked toward Bai Yen. "We'll negotiate with the Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall and send some people in the name of revenge. We need to get the item back," said Bai Yen. Charlie's eyes lit up. "All right. I'll use a communication stone right now to contact them." Charlie and Bai Yen immediately used special equipment to contact the Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They told them the story they had prepared earlier, and after some good-willed negotiation, they were permitted to send people into the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. At the same time, 3 Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall currently sat together in the very center of their hall. "The Serpent God Hall wants to send experts into our territory to kill off their enemies. Odd. Why do I feel like it's not as simple as it seems," said an old man between the 3. "I also have a similar feeling, the Serpent God Hall must be hiding something from us. Otherwise, why would their esteemed Hall Elders appear personally for a small matter like this? They could just send other experts instead." It does sound a little weird if you put it like that. They totally could have just sent experts from tribes who lived in their territory to pursue their enemies who fled to our land. Why do they have to send people of the Serpent God Hall? The 3 Hall Elders found it rather odd and suspicious. At that very moment, a blurry figure appeared out of nowhere high up in the empty throne. The entire hall was enveloped by a terrifying pressure with his appearance. The 3 Hall Elders were surprised and immediately became polite. They looked toward the blurry figure and bowed, speaking in unison, "We greet the Hall Master." I sensed a sliver of the abyssal crystal's presence. "Investigate it immediately," said the Hall Master. His voice was ordinary, but it was filled with an authoritative pressure. "What? The abyssal crystal?" The 3 Hall Elders all became stunned, revealing a slight expression of disbelief. The Hall Master's figure had already disappeared. He did not say anything else. He seemed to have appeared only to give this single command. The 3 Hall Elders all looked at each other, and only after a while did someone speak. "I heard the abyssal crystal originates from the Sea of Despair. The frigid chi there is so great that even emperors struggle to cope with it. I didn't think there would actually be an emperor who would risk his life and venture in for an abyssal crystal. The abyssal crystal's a special type of crystal. No one knows how it's formed, but it has the ability of gathering the essence of water-attributed energy. It's a legendary treasure among us, but no one has ever come into possession of it. It's said that in the ancient times, the great sea goddess removed a giant piece of abyssal crystal from the Sea of Despair and carved out a supreme divine hall. However, after the sea goddess passed away from age, the divine hall was left floating about through the Sea of Despair. No one has ever found its exact whereabouts. There is a special connection between abyssal crystals. They say that if someone finds a crystal and uses a special technique to forge it, they can find the exact location of the sea goddess divine hall. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. We should hurry up and carry out the hall master's command. Suddenly, a hall elder's face changed as he seemed to notice something. The business with the serpent god hall chasing a few people just happens to be fishy as well. Do you think this is related to the abyssal crystal? Do you think that the people who the serpent god hall are pursuing possess the abyssal crystal? The three hall elders all guessed this together, connecting the news of the abyssal crystal to Jian Chen's group. That's probably the case. Let's go organize some people immediately. It doesn't matter whether the crystal is with the people who the serpent god hall wants. We'll go check on it. If it really is that case, we need to obtain it before them. A mature, blue-robed lady who seemed to be in her 20s sat cross-legged in the air within a secret room. She was inside a huge palace within the territory of the sea god hall. She was dressed simply, but she was extremely pretty with a devastating appearance. She was like a fairy who had descended from heaven. Reporting to the hall master, Qing Yishuan has arrived, an old voice boomed from outside. Let her in. The woman moved her mouth and spoke with an enchanting voice. The door to the room slowly opened. The white-clothed Qing Yishuan walked in from outside. Her dashing face was slightly pale and some traces of darkness existed within the paleness. She clearly was still injured from the fight for the Octaterra map fragment and had not even purged the venom from her body completely yet. Qing Yishuan bowed courteously to the woman before her and said, Qing Yishuan greets the hall master. Qing Yishuan, go to the samsara pool and heal your wounds. After you're done, head out with Lei Batian immediately to the Heaven Spirit Hall, the hall master said gently. Qing Yishuan revealed a sliver of excitement as soon as she heard she could go to the samsara pool. She would be able to heal her wounds in 2 days at the samsara pool. Even the poison that tortured her for so long could be purged completely. Qing Yishuan suppressed her excitement and asked curiously, may I ask why the hall master is asking me to go to the Heaven Spirit Hall? Once you make a complete recovery, you'll learn about the details of the mission from Lei Batian. You can go, the hall master replied gently. Her voice was emotionless. Yes. Qing Yishuan will be leaving then. Qing Yishuan bowed courteously once more before backing out. Although Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang managed to shake off the two Saint Kings, they did not relax at all. They continued their way into the depths of the Heaven Spirit Hall's territory without any change in speed and constantly changed their directions as they traveled. Nubis carried Jian Chen on his back as he hurried along. Jian Chen was heavily injured, currently pushing all the power of the chaotic body to heal his wounds. They traveled for 4 hours before they finally saw a medium-sized city near the horizon. There is a city up ahead. There are many people in there, so it'll be perfect for covering our trail. Let's stop there for now and continue onward after your wounds have healed. Otherwise, if we get caught by people again in your current condition, it'll be problematic, said Nubis as a suggestion. They have no idea where we've run off to. We can hide in the city for some time. The experts of the Serpent God Hall are bound by the agreement of territorial boundaries. They won't dare cross over, added Xia Wang. Jian Chen pondered for a while. He knew that he was not in a suitable condition to continue traveling. Since it was safe now, he probably should heal as fast as he could. He needed to maintain his peak strength at all times, so he can handle any sudden changes to the situation. Alright, let's go in, said Jian Chen. Afterwards, the three of them flew into the city. They descended in a well-hidden spot, then found a relatively obscure inn and settled down for the time being. Just when they had settled down, the two elders at the border between the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall received the Hall Elders' message and rejoiced. They did not worry anymore and directly passed through the boundary to the other hall's land in search of Jian Chen. There's still a slightly bloody smell in the air. This must be the path they ran off to. Follow me. One of the elders sniffed out the remaining smell of blood and immediately rushed off in the direction Jian Chen's group had fled. It was actually the exact same direction. The two elders stopped after traveling 10,000 kilometers. The old man with an extremely sensitive sense of smell sniffed the air once again and said, "The smell of blood is getting thicker. Looks like they only passed through here not too long ago. We've almost caught up with them. Let's go." The two of them continued onward and grew closer and closer to the city where the Jian Chen's group had settled down. At this very moment, several vast presences appeared in the distance. A few figures shot by with great speed, charging directly for the two elders. The elders paid them no attention, continuing along the way by following the smell of blood. They treated these people as passers-by. "Warriors, please stop." Suddenly, a voice cried out from afar. The voice was thunderous, booming through the sky and reverberated through the region. The two elders paused and subconsciously came to a halt. They quietly watched the figure approach them from afar, without reacting greatly at all. Soon, the people stopped 20 meters from the two elders. There was a total of 4 people, 1 old man, and 3 middle-aged men. The old man was a saint king but only of the first heavenly layer, while the 3 middle-aged men were all saint rulers. The old man clasped his hands at the two elders and questioned, "Are you two elders of the Serpent God Hall?" "Correct. We are indeed elders of the Serpent God Hall." "Why have you stopped us?" asked an elder with suspicion. "Esteemed elders, the 4 of us are members of the nearby Chenyang tribe. We just received a message from the Hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They've invited the 2 of you to go pay a visit to the Heaven Spirit Hall," said the old man with a smile. His tone was extremely polite. Chapter 886, Invitation of the Heaven Spirit Hall. The two elders immediately felt a sliver of surprise when they heard that they had actually been invited to the Heaven Spirit Hall as guests by the Hall elders. Although they were elders of the Serpent God Hall, it was only a status. They had no power as ordinary elders within the hall. Why would the great Hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall invite them? They found this extremely shocking. However, the two elders frowned very quickly. One of them said, "Please relay this message to the esteemed Hall elders. We are overwhelmed by your esteemed Hall elders' invitation, but we currently have important matters to attend to. We just don't have the time right now. Why don't we pay a visit after the matters have been dealt with?" The old saint king from the Chenyang tribe frowned slightly and said unhappily, "Elders, that may not be appropriate. Our Hall elders are waiting to meet the two elders right now. Do the two elders just want to brush the esteemed Hall elders aside and keep them waiting for you, or is it because you don't even acknowledge our Hall elders?" The old man's voice became rather serious toward the end. He had received strict orders from the Hall elders to invite the two elders to the hall no matter what. However, the Chenyang tribe did not have the strength to threaten them, so all he could do was mention the Hall elders. The expressions of the two elders changed slightly. They immediately explained, "No, no, no, that's not what we meant. How would we dare keep the esteemed Hall elders waiting for us? We're ecstatic over the fact that we've been invited by the Hall elders. How is it possible for us to not acknowledge the Hall elders?" The two elders of the Serpent God Hall did not dare to offend the Hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Every single person who could become a Hall elder was a terrifyingly powerful expert. They were all at the peak of the 16th star and only an inch away from the 17th. The old man of the Chenyang tribe smiled slyly and made a welcoming gesture to the pair. He said, "If that's the case, then let's go. The 4 of us will be guiding the two elders, to prevent any insignificant people from disturbing the two elders." The two elders of the Serpent God Hall looked at each other and both sighed gently. They could only give up their chase of Jian Chen and fly toward the Heaven Spirit Hall helplessly. The two of them did not dare to reject or ignore an invitation from the Heaven Spirit Hall's hall elders. Two saint rulers also arrived at the city where Jian Chen's group stayed, as the two elders were invited to the Heaven Spirit Hall by the people of the Chenyang tribe. They were of the 13th and 14th star, experts of two different nearby tribes. The two saint rulers floated 1,000 meters in the air as they looked down at the city. One of them said, "The location given by the hall elders is here. They probably erased their presences and have hidden themselves in the city. We're weaker than them, so it'll be extremely difficult for us to find them with our strength. Let's go pay a visit to the city lord's manor." The two saint rulers directly traveled to the city lord's manor, before disappearing into the large estate. Soon afterward, all the guards in the city set out, rifling through each and every household in a blanket search. The noise from below disturbed Jian Chen, who was currently healing in the inn they had settled down in. Jian Chen slowly opened his eyes and frowned slightly. He was stern. At this very moment, the door of the room was opened. Nubis and Xia Wang walked in. "Jian Chen, there are quite a few guards conducting a search outside. Do you think they've come for us?" asked Nubis as soon as he entered the room. Jian Chen sat unmovingly on the bed and slowly nodded. "That should be the case. They have indeed come for us. The hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall are searching for us." Nubis' expression changed slightly. "What? The hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall? God damn it. They don't even know us, so why are they looking for us? Surely you haven't offended the Heaven Spirit Hall's hall elders as well," said Xia Wang as he stared at the two of them with suspicion. "We have nothing to do with the Heaven Spirit Hall. Perhaps they've come with the same intention as the Serpent God Hall, since they're searching us so suddenly?" Jian Chen said unhurriedly. He could not help but think about the mysterious key which shone with dazzling blue light in the saint artifact. That's probably it. The Heaven Spirit Hall really does have experts with great abilities. As soon as we entered their land, there has also been someone in search of us. Nubis became grim. They had just fled from the Serpent God Hall. He had thought that they would be safe from now on and he could find a place and cultivate without worry. Never did they think that more trouble would come knocking on the door before they could even rest properly after entering the Heaven Spirit Hall's land. They were stuck in a troublesome situation once again. "Open up for search." A rough voice boomed from outside. The door of the inn was kicked open and several soldiers in special, gray armor walked in. The three of them all looked toward the soldiers. The soldiers immediately felt their hearts tighten under the gazes of saint rulers despite the fact that they had just glanced at them. It was as if the air around them had turned into a vacuum, making breathing difficult. The leading captain forcefully maintained his cool and swept past the three of them with a fearful gaze. He said, "We've come under orders in search for some convicts. Warriors, apologies. We will be leaving." The captain of the squad did not dare to stay any longer. With a wave of his hand, he led his soldiers out of the room, before gently closing the door. Afterward, the captain immediately left the inn and shot toward the city lord's manor. Jian Chen slowly stood up in the inn and said, "Our exact location has been discovered. We're so unlucky. Why do I get into all this big trouble as soon as I start following you guys? Hunted down by the Serpent God Hall first and now the Heaven Spirit Hall is looking for us everywhere. If I had known earlier, I would have never joined you in your suffering even if I couldn't reach the 15th star," grumbled Xia Wang to one side. His arms were crossed and he was filled with regret. Nubis looked toward the whining Xia Wang and sniggered, "It's a pity that you don't have a choice anymore. You've already offended the people of the Serpent God Hall. Pretty sure they won't let you off no matter what. Even if you hide in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, they'll have ways to claim your life. The only way you can survive is by sticking with us. Let's not talk about that for now. We need to leave. They've discovered us. We can't stay here any longer," said Xia Wang. He could no longer backtrack. Nubis was right. The Serpent God Hall would not let go of anyone who had become its enemy in order to maintain its dignity. Jian Chen opened the window and stared out at the lively street in interest. He said, "The Heaven Spirit Hall's looking for us for no reason, so that definitely can't be good. We can't stay here anymore. We need to leave here immediately and go to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. We might be safer there." "Are you sure that the people of the Sea Goddess Hall won't cause us trouble?" Xiaofan asked worriedly. Jian Chen hesitated. He could not help but think back to the words of the mysterious woman who had given him the water spirit's pearl. She had once told him that if he could not stay within the land of the Serpent God Hall, he could go to the Sea Goddess Hall instead, and that it would be safe there. "I believe no one will look for trouble with us in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall," murmured Jian Chen. He believed the mysterious woman would not harm them. "All right. I hope that's the case. Let's leave immediately," Xiaofan said rather urgently. He really did not want to stay here for even a fraction of a second longer. Every extra moment spent here could lead to increased danger. At this very moment, two vast presences appeared from the direction of the city lord's manor. Two figures directly flew towards where Jian Chen's group stayed. They traveled very quickly, arriving at the entrance of the inn in just a few seconds. Afterwards, they turned into a blur and climbed up the stairs extremely quickly, appearing in the room where they stayed. They were two old men who seemed to be beyond their 60s. They both wore blue robes, while their blue hair was tied up into a bun. Their eyes were deep like the starry sky, making it very difficult to read anything from their eyes. "I am Dahan. I greet the three warriors. I am Tanishq. I greet the three warriors as well." As soon as the two old men entered the room, they clasped their hands at Jian Chen's group and greeted them before they could even speak. They were extremely friendly. Jian Chen, Nubis and Xiaofan looked at each other. Afterwards, Jian Chen replied like he usually would, "May I ask why the two of you have suddenly come searching for us?" "Warriors, we are members of two different tribes from this region. Not long ago, we received a message from the esteemed hall elders. They want to invite you to pay a visit to their Heaven Spirit Hall," smiled Tanishq. "Please tell your esteemed elders for me that the three of us have important matters to attend to, so we may not be able to visit. However, we will definitely visit in person and apologize in the future," said Jian Chen. Dahan and Tanishq revealed troubled expressions. One of them said, "Warrior, that may not be good. This is a personal invitation from the esteemed hall elders. How can you turn it down? Please relay my message exactly as I said it to the hall elders. The three of us still have matters to attend to, so we will be leaving first." Jian Chen left immediately with Nubis and Xiaofan after throwing that down. They gained the attention of the Heaven Spirit Hall as soon as they had arrived. They could no longer stay there anymore. They needed to leave as fast as possible. This was because the people who invited them this time were only saint rulers. Next time, it might become saint kings, and when that happened, it would be difficult for them to leave even if they wanted to. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.